Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. And it is Thursday, December 12th. Shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. We had all to talk about in the world of professional wrestling. But first, Jensen, how you doing?
Doing all right. Was sick over the weekend, and that wasn't fun, but I am feeling a lot better now. Got a vacation coming up. Actually, got a short day at work today at the shoot job, and gonna leave for a couple days. So looking forward to to getting away for a couple days. I got all this time off right now because I had to, like, the way that my shoot job works with the vacations and stuff like that is because it's like a corporate company. I have to choose most of my vacation time a year in advance. So like the days I'm taking off right now, I requested a year ago. You know what I mean? Like I already have all my 2025 dates. Like I've already had to get all those approved like this month for next year. So but it's nice because I loaded up the end of the year with a lot of days off. So looking forward to, getting away for a few days and watching football. And my Vikings are 11-2. You're going to hear a lot of football talk in the interview with Jarrett Bailey at the end of the show. So I won't harp too much on the NFL stuff because you'll get a good dose of that at the end of the show. But yeah, outside of that, man, everything was good. I'm feeling a lot better. So that's good. It was one of those flus where it just hit me super hard for like a few days, but sweated it out, couldn't really do much. You know what I mean? Just laid around. I've been doing a lot of crock potting lately. So like I was making myself chicken soup in the crock pot and just drinking a bunch of water. Got my gallons of water around, just staying hydrated. And yeah, but outside of that, really not a whole lot going on. How about you, man?
The usual, busy as always. It doesn't really slow down. There's a lot of wrestling this weekend, which is unfortunate. A lot of wrestling next weekend. Wrestling every single weekend, every single day, feels like. So glad you feel better.
Thanks. Yeah, dude, it's crazy with the timing too. So there's a show tonight. We talked about it last week a little bit, that West Side Gun show, the Heels Have Eyes, Fourth Row. Yeah. That's at Center Stage tonight. And I actually was invited to the show and had to turn it down because I will be out of town. And then TNA is the next night at Center Stage. It's like all this wrestling happened. But obviously when I scheduled my time off a year ago, I had no idea that this week there'd be multiple wrestling shows at Center Stage, before I planned this trip and stuff. But it is what it is. I wish I could be there. They're doing a triple threat match tonight at Center Stage that I really wanted to be there for, which was VIF versus the Hardys versus the Infantry in a ladder match at Center Stage. And they got a bunch of TNA talent on the show because obviously TNA is running the same venue at Center Stage the next night for Final Resolution. So it makes sense. But if you're in Atlanta, I'd recommend checking out the Heels Have Eyes show, Fourth Rope, over at Center Stage. If you're around, I would definitely be there if I didn't have this. Just the timing's just crazy that I happened to have something planned this week when all this wrestling was around. And then last week I was supposed to go to GCW, and literally, I started feeling it coming on Thursday. Like whenever we were doing the show last week, my throat was a little scratchy, but I didn't think much of it. The weather's been changing a lot and stuff. And then it hit me super hard Thursday night. By Friday, I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to go to the show on Saturday. And then Saturday, I was just like in bed all day and watched like the UFC pay-per-view from bed and stuff. And just, anyway, I'm glad that that's done with. But yeah, I wish I could go to the shows this week, but just not good timing. But there's a lot of good wrestling in Atlanta right now, and I think people should support it if they're around. So
Folks, you should also support us by leaving a thumbs up on the video, subscribing to the channel, get a super chat in, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. At about 9:20-ish, maybe a little bit before, you're going to see me just pop off. Everything is fine. I have to take care of something. I'll be gone for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I will be back to finish up the show. So just letting everybody know in advance, if I leave without a warning, that is all it is. I am fine. All right, let's get into everything. Let's get into the professional wrestling.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
This is a Stephen Jensen special for the thumbnail, for the headline, for just everything. Cody Rhodes, Xavier Woods. Cody Rhodes expressed his disappointment to Xavier and Kofi for shunning Big E, and he brought up their high school feud, match, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Jensen. Take it away.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know the backstory here, I'll do my best to summarize succinctly. But basically, and the reason this is a spotlight, obviously, is because this was alluded to, as you mentioned, on Raw. Like Kofi and Woods had like a backstage kind of run-in with Cody. Excuse me. And Cody was like, we've known each other since we were kids. And, you know, they referenced high school, and Woods was like, yeah, so you're such a good guy in high school. You know, he was very salty about their high school experience together. So this is the story for everybody who may not be filled in. Back in high school, and y'all know this because I was around, I literally witnessed this as it was happening. I didn't witness this whole story in person, but I did witness part of it. So back when we were in high school, Cody went to Lassiter and Woods went to Sprayberry. Both schools are, I mean, within 10 minutes of each other. I mean, they're close by. The area of Marietta in Atlanta that we grew up in, it has a ton of people. So like, there's these really large high schools all over the place. Like there's within like a 10 to 15 to 20 minute radius, you probably legitimately have like 4 or 5 humongous high schools with, you know, hundreds of students per grade. But one of our main rivals was right up the street, Lassiter and Sprayberry. So Woods went to Sprayberry. Also, just fun fact, Buff Bagwell also went to Sprayberry back in the day. He's obviously older than we are, but like he went to that high school. Lito went to Lassiter, went to my high school years before we did. So we've had like some wrestlers in the area, which is kind of cool. But back during my time, this would have been, I was in high school from 2002 to 2006. Cody's 2 years older than I am. So this was probably around 2004-ish, I would guess, 2004, 2005. But the story is essentially that when Lassiter wrestled Sprayberry, Woods, so let me back up. Cody won this high school state championship at the same weight class of 189 pounds in his junior year and senior year back to back. He was the state champion. He had built a reputation for himself. He was kind of like a little celebrity in the city. He'd have like write-ups in the local newspapers and stuff like that. And obviously people all knew who Dusty Rhodes was. Dusty came to all the matches. So like Woods has said this himself. Essentially what he did was when he found out that Sprayberry was wrestling Lassiter, Woods asked his coach to bump him up weight class, 1 or 2 weight classes, like so that Woods specifically could wrestle Cody. Like Woods' whole goal, and he said it himself in interviews, his whole goal was, if I can beat Cody Runnels at the time, if I can beat Cody, Dusty will be there because he's at all Cody's matches. And so Dusty will see me beat Cody, and then he'll have to go to Vince McMahon and the WWE and be like, hey, I saw this kid who beat my son, and like he's really good, and like you're gonna want him. Like his end game was like get into the WWE through beating Cody Rhodes. Now, what's pretty wild and kind of just crazy how it played out is not long after that, within like a handful of years, Woods was wrestling in TNA as Consequences Creed, and I remember Dusty was a part of early TNA, and I don't know for sure, but I think Dusty was there at the time that Woods was also in TNA. So it's kind of funny that like it did wind up that like they wound up in the same company not long after, but it wasn't the WWE obviously, but it's kind of wild that happened in TNA. But what happened in the match was, Cody didn't lose to Cody was literally undefeated his junior year, and then he lost one match his senior year, and then wound up beating that same guy in the state finals to avenge his loss. So outside of that one loss that was avenged, he was undefeated for 2 years straight. So there was no shame in Woods losing to Cody. Everyone lost to Cody. But Woods went to a decision with him, which was like very respectable that Cody didn't just, put him down on the mat and pin him. Like it was an actual match, but it wasn't necessarily super competitive. Like Cody clearly won the match, but Woods held his own, and he, so that's where that story ended for a moment. Fast forward later on that year, and I witnessed the Woods versus Cody match in person, but obviously you don't know that it's going to be two future WWE stars at the time, Months later, at a bowling alley that's no longer there. It was called Village Lanes, and it was over by Sprayberry, over by Woods' school. The story is Cody was at the bowling alley, and so was Woods. They were at the same bowling alley over in Woods' part of town, over by Sprayberry. Cody showed up with a girl that he had been dating named Lindsay, and Woods was there with like some mutual friends. So when Woods sees Cody come into the bowling alley, he's like, oh shit, like I hate this guy. You know what I mean? Like he's like, he doesn't want to see Cody. And it turns out that the girl that Cody was with, Woods had a massive crush on for a long time. They were like good friends, but like Woods wanted to be more than friends. And this is Woods' own words in podcast. Like I'm not just making this up. Like Woods has said, like this was a girl he was like in love with. He was like a really good friend that wanted to be more with. And Cody shows up to the bowling alley with her. And according to Cody, and I think Woods pretty much tells the same story, when Cody gets there and they see each other, the first thing that happens is Cody picks up a bowling ball and rolls a strike right in Woods' face, and then turns around and tells everybody there in front of Woods, I know you, I beat you. And then like, according to Woods, then like Cody like kisses the girl in front of him. I haven't heard Cody tell that part of the story, but according to Woods' side of it, like that happens. Cody's like, I know you, I beat you, after rolling a strike. Then like he kisses this girl he's in love with, like right in front of him. So that's where the beef stems from. that bowling alley, by the way, hasn't been around for like over a decade. So like, leave the memories alone.
They should revive it. Call it the Road Strike Alley. I don't know.
Yeah, right. But that's where this beef starts from. That's what Woods is alluding to by being like, oh yeah, you're such a good guy in high school. That's because that was their experience. Now when Cody tells a story, he adds some other stuff, and that's pretty funny because he'll kind of like roast the way that Woods used to dress. He's like, he came in with like the dreadlocks with like the Rough Rider chain and the big jacket. Like he tries to paint this picture like Woods was like trying to be tough. And I mean, but that's probably Cody being Cody. You know what I mean? Like Cody's always going to exaggerate the stories, quote unquote, Cody lies. But he tries to paint this picture like Woods was like out of his element, like trying to be tough around him. And, but obviously Woods was a badass. Like, I'm not even going to like pretend like he was a very, very good wrestler, Woods. Like it was just Cody was literally the best wrestler in the state, but there was no shame in like Woods was very, very legitimate. Woods would have absolutely destroyed me if we had to wrestle one another. Would have even been competitive. He would have killed me in a wrestling match. So I'm not like sitting here talking trash, but that's where the beef stems, is Cody beating Woods in a high school wrestling match, and then Cody basically flexing with Xavier's crush right in front of him at a bowling alley. So now that's kind of carried into a WWE storyline finally, which, it's been like, literally like 25 years since all this happened. But it's like the most niche, best, like me seeing this happening obviously is a humongous mark out type of situation for me. It's not going to hit other people nearly as hard, obviously, but this is I marked out hard when I saw that they were kind of like playing into that on TV. It's awesome. And I hope that, you know, they're obviously gonna have some sort of match with one another. Like,
I don't know if that's obvious,
dude. They will. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be like a super high profile, like Woods is gonna like main event a pay-per-view against Cody for the title or anything like that. But I mean, the New Day is getting really good heat as heels. Cody is the top babyface in the company, outside of like maybe Roman, depending on how you look at it or whatever. But Ken Bruno says it's going to hit them hard when Kofi and Xavier helped Kevin win the belt at Saturday night's main event. There's a lot of people that think that Cody is going to lose to Kevin Owens at Saturday night's main event, but also a lot of people thought he was going to lose to Gunther, and a lot of people thought a lot of stuff about Cody, and he just keeps winning. So I don't know.
I'm just going to assume Cody's going to win. I think he should lose, but I'm just going to assume he's going to win because he always wins. LOL, Cody wins.
Yeah, it's awesome. He's a winner. It took 22 years or whatever to win the WWE Championship and finally become that guy and become the QB1. But, you know, now that he is, there's
nobody calls him that. Nobody calls him.
I call him that.
Nobody does.
He calls himself that. I call him that.
Yeah, he gave that nickname to himself. That's like the worst thing you can do is give yourself a nickname.
Number one, Cody Rhodes, memorabilia collector, Gunnar Mathis calls him that. It's okay.
He gave himself that nickname.
But I do want to see Xavier and Cody one-on-one, though. I think it'd be really cool to see. It might, just for what it's worth. I've actually shown you pictures before. I think of like my brother hangs out with Woods sometimes, which is like really random because like one of Joe, who we've had on the show, Black Italian Stallion, the boxer. Him and my brother trains him, but like they're really good friends. And one of Joe's best friends is best friends with Xavier. So it's like there's these random scenarios where my brother will hit me up and be like, "Hey, Woods is here with us." You know what I mean? They're like out like drinking at like, you know, on the town or whatever, or at like some like convention or something like that. So I'm obviously like it's one of those things where I pull for Woods in literally every situation outside of if he's against Cody. But I'm like a humongous Woods fan. So like I actually want to see Woods get a big push. And I actually do want to see him become the WWE champion like at some point before his career is over. Like, so I don't even want this to come off like I'm roasting Woods. It's just in this one scenario. It's just funny because I'm always going to be pro Cody, but I do want success for Woods. I'm obviously a huge fan of his. I've been pulling it for him forever. I was actually live at his WWE debut in Nashville like forever ago. Like his first WWE match, I happened to be in the house for that. So yeah, I've got strong ties to Woods also.
I don't know if we're going to get a Cody and Woods match. I really don't. Like this felt like, hey, let's do something backstage. Cody's obviously beloved. Right now, Woods and Kofi are not beloved. The exact opposite, in fact. And let's mention the history that only Stephen Jensen will get. And hopefully people watch the spotlight to learn the entire backstory of why this is a relevant comment. And that's it. I don't know if we're going to actually get a match out of this. I don't think we will. Not anytime soon. Just don't.
Well, we'll see. I'd imagine it's something that Cody and Woods both won and have probably pitched. Like, I don't necessarily think it's going to be like some massive title feud, but I could see it happening on like a Netflix Raw randomly or like on SmackDown. They're doing like a trade deadline or something, right? Where like the roster's about to get
transfer window,
whatever you want to call it. By the way, that's a better idea than doing a full-on draft every year. If they're replacing the draft with
I don't think they're replacing the draft. I think they're just doing it so they can shift things around for Netflix. I still think we're going to get a draft. I still think we're going to get a draft after WrestleMania.
I prefer they stop doing the drafts altogether because like a lot of the time the same people just like wind up on the same shows anyways, and like I don't like how they have to split the rosters and like part of like most of like, you know, half of them aren't eligible day one and stuff. Like I think it'd be smarter just to have more set rosters and just do a trade window. But I mean that's just me personally. Like But I mean, the timing obviously makes perfect sense with Netflix. Is it the first Monday in January is Netflix?
Yeah, January 6th.
So, I mean, the timing obviously makes sense if they want to shake up the rosters, right? I mean, because they're going to have either Cody or Roman on Raw full time, I feel like, when they go to Netflix. I'd imagine it'll be Cody. But how do you like, what do you trade for Cody that makes any logical sense? Like, it'd have to be obviously it'd have to be like Rollins and Punk for Cody or something like that. It'd have to be like some sort of.
Why isn't it just Gunther?
Just champion for champion?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be fine with that personally.
I mean, in kayfabe, like Gunther is the top guy on Raw. I know he certainly isn't presented like it right now, and it doesn't feel like it. Like, yeah, the stuff that Seth, Drew, and Punk are doing feels like the top guy stuff, but like in kayfabe, Gunther's the champion, so he's the equivalent of Cody.
Except for losing to Cody, still less than, But nah, I mean, you could just do a 1-for-1 trade. I regardless, I think that Cody should be on Raw on Netflix. Like, I think that's a no-brainer. And if he's not, you got to do Roman. But if you do Roman, then you got to move the entire Bloodline story over to Raw. You got to move all those people, and I don't see that happening. So,
I mean, I could easily see that happening.
Moving Roman and everybody involved with the Bloodline over to Raw.
Yeah.
If you did that, then you'd have to leave Cody on SmackDown, though, right? Or you'd have to get rid of the brand split altogether. But that's clearly not what they're doing if you're going to do a trade window.
I mean, it feels like they want to get rid of the brand split anyway. It's a myth anyway. So,
I completely agree with that. Hashtag the brand split. The brand split isn't real. I've been against the brand split for a long time. So I'm right there with you if they wanted to get rid of it completely. And they all for forever they did the whole like wild card rule, and then just kind of gave up on even caring. People just started flopping around to both shows and stuff. So they can always just do that and just make up excuses as to why. But I like that they're at least like, and this is my ignorance, but Gable and his whole group, not Alpha Academy. What are they calling themselves now?
American Made.
They're on Raw, right? But they had a segment with Cody on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So like they're already kind of doing that stuff. But
that's when they announced that like transfer.
Right.
Yeah, that's when they announced that it was open. So that allowed them to be on the show.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I could see them just having like little loopholes here and there to kind of put who they want on each show, regardless. But anyways, that's really not even that big of a deal or a topic really to talk about. I just feel like I just have a strong feeling Cody's going to be a part of Raw because they're going to want him on Netflix, I think. So we'll kind of see how that winds up working itself out. And I think he'll be the WWE champion, by the way, when that happens. Like, so I don't think he's losing to Kevin Owens. I think that Cody will be the WWE champion when they're doing all the advertising for, Raw to Netflix. Cody will be the guy with the belt. Also, they're going to do, looks like they're going to bring back the Winged Eagle Championship for Saturday Night's Main Event, which is really, really cool considering, Cody specific. I mean, it's cool for all the fans and people wanted to see it for a long time return, but Cody's been very vocal about wanting to reintroduce that championship. And even if it's for one night only, that's cool that he gets to be the guy to do that. He was also the guy people forget. He was the guy who brought back the OG Intercontinental Championship years ago when he was the IC champion. He, kind of did the same type of thing, which is cool. Continuity with his character, bringing back old title belts that people loved and wanted to see again. So that's pretty cool. Do you think it's cool that he's bringing back the title for at least one night?
I think he needs to stop living in the past.
Anything else on Cody and Woods?
No, I don't think it's going to be a match. I thought it was wasn't a throwaway segment. Like the New Day stuff, I thought was really good, and them getting booed out of the building was really good, and them not giving you really anything because of the heat they were getting was really good.
Yeah.
Cody just showed up. He's got to be on every show. He's got to make sure his face is out there.
Dude, I heard a story about and you're not going to care about this. You'll probably actually roast this because you have no heart. But
wow.
Yeah. But my buddy Mike that comes over for AEW on Wednesdays, he was telling me that his nephew, it's like his nephew through marriage, he's autistic, and he's recently discovered pro wrestling. Like, he wasn't into it at all until like WrestleMania this past year, and he just like really took to it and became like really obsessed with it. And I can relate to that too. I'm the same type of way where like when I get into something, I get real. I mean, look around me, dude. You can't even see half my room, and it's like, I mean, I'm like that also. I'm very like, I get locked in on certain things. If there's like a meal that I like, I'll eat it a whole bunch. Like, I'll make it a lot until I get sick of it. I can kind of relate. And I'm like that with wrestling 100%. As a kid, that's all I could think about as a kid. I'd be sitting there in class just thinking about what's going to happen on Nitro, what's going to happen. I'm not paying attention to class at all. When we get out to the schoolyard for recess, I'm practicing wrestling moves. Like, that's all I cared about. You know what I mean? And so it's cool because like this guy, I say kid, he's like a teenager, and he recently discovered wrestling, and his two guys that he loves are Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. It's so funny. Those are the two guys. So like when I was at Raw, when I was at Bad Blood, I bought some signed like I got like the Punk one behind me there. You can kind of see next to the Danielson, but those are signed at the event. I got his nephew, one of those from Punk, one of those from Cody, because they had them both, and I sent them off to him, and he was like super stoked. And then I've been checking up on this kid a little bit lately, just asking my buddy, like, hey, how's his name's David. I'm like, how's David doing? And like, what's he liking in wrestling and stuff? And he's like, dude, he got tickets to go to SmackDown. This was like a few weeks ago. He got tickets for SmackDown. Apparently Cody's going to be there to do like a dark match or something. And he said he has been practicing the lyrics to Kingdom in the mirror nonstop for like weeks, like in preparation to go to this show. And I was like, dude, this is so awesome knowing this. And he got to go to the show. And Cody had a dark match against Solo Sikoa, and he had the time of his life, this guy. Like, and he won't stop texting my buddy about it. He's just like, dude, when I was at the show, this happened. When I was at the show, this happened. Like, and so I just want to throw that out there. Like, me and Jeremy and a lot of us, we get like really jaded with this because we talk about it all the time. We've been watching it forever. But like, I love hearing stories like that about people discovering wrestling in like today's era, whether it's Cody or Punk or anyone else. Like, it doesn't really matter who the person is that draws them in. It's super, super cool to hear that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to throw that out there, just kind of let people know that today, that like, there's a lot of people, whether it's Cody or anyone else, like I said, that they really use wrestling as an escape, or as like, it's just like a really, really fun hobby, and that's something that as a kid, it was just very relatable. I went through a lot of traumatic stuff as a kid, a lot of death and loss and stuff, and just went through a lot of hard stuff when I was younger. And wrestling was my big escape, a few times a week to watch WCW, WWF, ECW. I was just super, super obsessed, and just, I don't know, it's just something I wanted to bring up on the show today. I thought it was super cool that this kid who didn't even know what wrestling was is like obsessed with the WWE now. He's obsessed with Cody. He's obsessed with CM Punk. And one of his big things is so funny to me is he only watches WWE, right? He like will not give AEW a chance. He will not, and like he's already almost like one of those fans, right? Where like he will defend the WWE. Like it doesn't matter. Like he is on Team WWE. And one of his big things that he keeps talking to Mike Hughes about, my buddy, and he keeps relaying to me, he's like, man, he won't stop saying how bad he wants Dean Ambrose to come back to the WWE. He won't stop because he wasn't watching wrestling, but he's found out about Jon Moxley and gone back and seen Dean Ambrose in the WWE. but he refuses to watch AEW. He's like, no, I'm not going to watch AEW and see Dan Ambrose over there. But it'd be the coolest thing ever if he came back to WWE and I could watch him every week. And it's like, dude, you can just watch AEW though. Like he's like, no, I'm not watching AEW. Like, so it's funny that like even like newer fans will get like territorial over the companies and stuff. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting because, you know, just like I said, it's just interesting. I love hearing the perspectives of new fans. Like we had Deporticus on not too long ago, who is a YouTuber and Twitch streamer who's like massively into wrestling and covers it and, you know, does all these YouTube videos and stuff on it. And he only's been watching for like the last year. And I like hearing his perspective on stuff because it's just a fresh, newer, you know, I like knowing what got you into wrestling. Why do you like this? Who do you like? Who do you not like? What will you watch? What won't you watch? So anyway, shout out to David, who's a new wrestling fan. He's loving it. So
yeah, good for him. Like I have a heart. I can appreciate new wrestling fans. I think you should pick a better favorite than Cody Rhodes, but you know, you like who you like. Does he want to dye his hair blonde and have the chemicals go to his brain?
I don't know if it's gone that far or not.
Like Kevin Owens is saying, all these kids being forced to dye their hair blonde against their will so Cody will notice them.
I take exception to that though, because when we were growing up, the kids were all doing the same thing with Eminem. Remember, like that we were of the era where everyone was dyeing their hair. Like I used to.
Yeah, but we learned that isn't good. At least Eminem is the biggest rapper in the world. Cody Rhodes is just the
biggest wrestler in the world.
Nah, he's not even the biggest wrestler in his own brand. That's just the world.
And Chi-Town's first has frosted tips. Yeah, dude. I remember we used to do the lemon juice. You ever do that? Put lemon juice in your hair. We had the hydrogen peroxide. That now you think about it, that probably was terrible. Just putting lemon juice and hydrogen peroxide in your hair. Then I'm pretty sure because we used to have there was a mom in our neighborhood who would do all of our hairs during that time period because we all wanted the Eminem look. And I'm pretty sure she just squirted a bunch of lemon juice in my hair and put hydrogen peroxide in my hair, then wrapped my hair up in aluminum foil or something, and I had to sit there for a few hours, and then, but really funny to think about now. But the only reason I'm bringing it up is because this concern that Kevin Owens has about Cody and kids dyeing their hair. We went through this already in the early 2000s with Eminem with the same exact hair. So, just saying. Yeah,
I mean, we did. So
that's facts.
It is.
People forget.
Yeah.
But that was a phenomenon when the real Slim Shady stuff was hot. When everyone wanted to be like that, like an extra Eminem, the VMAs or whatever. It was, that's how old me and Jeremy are. We were teenagers during that era. So,
Eminem's still coming out with music. He doesn't dye his hair. He killed Slim Shady. He's dead.
I saw him, Babytron, and
Big Sean.
Big Sean. I would be like Sean something. Big Sean. It's cool to see Babytron get so popular too, because he's one of the few. As you know, I'm not super tapped into music nowadays, but I discovered Babytron years ago, just completely randomly, and him and this other guy, BLP Kosher, have some songs. BLP is a Jewish rapper that I really like, and anyway, I discovered Babytron years ago when he had short hair and he was doing just Detroit rapping and stuff, scam rapping and that type of stuff. I discovered him through another Detroit rapper called TJX6, who basically raps explaining how to do credit card fraud and stuff. He literally gives you the instructions on how to scam people in his raps.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but anyway, they all rap off beat, which is strange, but it sounds cool once you get used to it. But it is weird because they don't care about the beat. They're just spitting. Doesn't matter what the background music is. They're just gonna say what they're gonna say. Anyway, but it was pretty wild because I knew of Babytron. I'd been following Babytron. Babytron and BLP had a song called Mazeltron that I love from a couple years ago. And then recently I saw that Eminem's big return album, well, not really return, he's been around, but you know what I mean. His newest stuff had Babytron on it, so I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, that has nothing to do with wrestling, but That's pretty my extent of knowing about like today's hip hop. Pretty much like if you're in like a Lyrical Lemonade video, you're on my radar because Cole Bennett, I think, does really, really cool music videos. So like even if I'm not into the artist, I'll usually check out the music video. So
okay, I didn't realize you were a Lyrical Lemonade guy watching those.
Dude,
videos.
I can literally recite every word to anything that BLP and Babytron has done pretty much with Cole Bennett. Like just got to see those music videos so many times because they're fascinating. Like the Emperor of the Universe song that Babytron does where he raps over like 20 beats in one song. They recorded the entire thing on an iPhone in like 20 different locations and spent like no money on the music video. Like they just, like went into like a McDonald's and ordered a bunch of burgers and put them on a plate. They went into like a Target and just like asked if they could film in there. Went into like a construction site, filmed in there, filmed from the side of the road. Just really creative stuff. That I can really appreciate as someone who's done like video editing work. And obviously I'm like I live on YouTube. That's like pretty much the majority of the content that I consume is YouTube stuff. So anyway. Yeah, that's a little known fact about me is I follow Lyrical Lemonade and Cole Bennett. So
there we go. All right, learned something new today.
Yeah, we can talk more WWE. I forgot we got another WWE topic before you got to leave for a minute.
Yeah, CM Punk said the starter's back. Seth Rollins, kick rocks. You're on the bench. What'd you think of this CM Punk promo sit down with Jackie Redmond?
I mean, he comes off like pretty arrogant, right? He comes,
sure.
So I don't. Well, the reason I say that is because I'm not necessarily even saying I dislike this, by the way. But I do give AEW flack for the same type of thing, if this makes sense, which we'll talk about during the AEW topics. If you're around, I'll probably just talk indies or something while you're gone. But Punk is this strange gray area of a character in the WWE. It's the same way in the McIntyre feud, right? I mean, because like both guys was kind of, as I said over and over during that feud, was choose your own adventure. I excuse me, I viewed McIntyre as the babyface pretty much the whole Punk feud. I understand that he was presented more as a heel towards the end of their feud and stuff, but from my perspective, Drew was spitting facts the whole time. I loved how he was trolling by tweeting a picture with him and Jack Perry and all the kind of stuff he was doing and the promos that the McIntyre was cutting on social media and on the shows and stuff. And then I thought that their matches were great and the great payoff of Bad Blood and Hell in a Cell. But it was both guys were basically tweeners, and it was kind of up to you to decide who you wanted to root for. The advantage that CM Punk has in these scenarios is he's going to have his fans no matter what. Like there's going to be haters and there's going to be people that are going to boo him based on the stories and who he's wrestling. But no matter what, there is a big section of fans who are going to cheer CM Punk no matter what because they're ride or die fans. So you can kind of do this with Punk where it might not work with other people. But I feel like Rollins and Punk are going to be in a similar spot to where like Rollins and McIntyre were, where they both have legitimate personal history with one another. And it's going to be up to you as the viewer as to like who you're going to side with, because there's going to be things that both guys say and do that you're going to like and you're going to dislike. Like for Punk, to me, it seemed like a heel promo or heel interview he was doing with Jackie. And the reason that I feel like it was a heel promo, but once again, if you're a Punk fan, you're not going to see it that way. You're going to see it as a babyface promo. It's one of those things where like, if you're a Punk fan, you just view it as Punk's telling the truth, whether it's true or not. Like that's how he sees it. That's how he believes it. He believes in what he says, and people ride or die with him because he's being real in their mind. It doesn't matter what it is. He'll stand up for what he believes in. He'll literally fight for, against people he disagrees with, whatever. But the reason I feel like this was a heel type of interview is because he's basically talking about like years ago when Seth Rollins was a teenager and he wanted to get into wrestling. He would come to the shows that I was wrestling on and he wanted me to train him. What people don't talk about is how he wanted me to train him for free. And it's like, okay, well, but is there more to it than that? Because I highly doubt Seth Rollins felt so entitled that he was like, hey, train me for free, CM Punk. I'd imagine it was probably, and I can't speak for anybody, I'm obviously just speculating, but I mean, did he ask to do it for free because he was a teenager with literally no money? And was he willing to, do other things? Was he willing to set up rings and willing to do other stuff, for CM Punk to help CM Punk because he couldn't afford training? Because it would make sense as a teenager that you wouldn't be able to afford training because you probably don't have the money. You probably don't have a job or have, the means to get trained by. And CM Punk wasn't like training people then really anyways. I mean, he might have been through like Ring of Honor's training system a little bit, but I don't know what exact year they're talking about when they met each other. But my point is, for Punk to bring that up and him be like, well, the part of the story people don't know is he has to train for free. It's like, okay, well, now that you've brought that up, is there more to what you just said though? Like, why was he looking for free training? Was he a dick about it and entitled about it? Because he's Seth Rollins or he's Colby, he's the future Tyler Black, and he expects CM Punk to train you, or it's like someone kind of crawling to you looking for help because you're his hero and you live close enough that you could train with him. You just don't have the money to do it. And you're trying to figure out how to get into wrestling. So you ask your favorite wrestler for some help. I don't know how that went. So there's that. And him calling Seth QB I guess so. That's probably Jeremy having to go do his what he's got to do for the next probably 15-20 minutes. I'll keep talking. If you guys have stuff, this would be the best time to leave comments live, because I'll interact with y'all in the chat if y'all have questions and stuff. If you have super chats, obviously I'll put it on the screen, but even if not, this would be a great time. If you have questions for me or anything you want to say or put out on the show while Jeremy's gone, this would be a good time to do that. But as far as like Punk talking about him being the starter and Seth being on the bench, it's like, right. Is CM Punk a huge star in wrestling? Yes, undoubtedly. Even big haters like myself, I can admit that, obviously. Obviously, CM Punk is a massive draw in the wrestling business. He was the biggest draw AEW had when he was in AEW. He was a huge draw for WWE before he left. He was one of the biggest names in independent wrestling when he was doing the indie scene and when he was in Ring of Honor. He's always been a draw to whatever degree, for whatever level he was at. Even once again, in the indies, there was all this lore about CM Punk and guys like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Samoa Joe, so on and so forth, Chris Hero. And then CM Punk, even I remember when he was in TNA, he was doing stuff with Raven and Julio De Niro back then. But my point is, I want to give Punk his flowers first and obviously acknowledge, yes, he is a big star, and he's obviously a humongous star, a much bigger star now than he was, back in his indie days. He was probably at his peak of popularity right before he left the WWE in whatever it was, 2013 or whatever it was. But, his star power is still obviously very, very high. There was the UFC run, which we don't really need to touch on. Y'all pretty much know how I feel about all that. I respect the hell out of the fact that he got in the octagon. I do. I respect the hell out of that. Like, I would never do that, especially knowing how bad he was. He knew it wasn't going to go good for him. There was all this intel before he even got into the UFC about him losing to people in sparring that will never sniff a UFC octagon. Like, his coaches, everybody knew it probably was not going to go well for him in the UFC, but he had the balls to do it. He got paid a ton of money. It was pretty controversial. He got paid more than almost any of the other fighters. But my point is, he had the balls to go in there and do that. How it went, it went. He's the worst fighter in UFC history, hands down. It is what it is. But all that stuff aside, when we're talking just straight pro wrestling, he is a big star. Now, the reason I preface all this is to say, well, Punk, you quit the company. Like, you quit the WWE in 2013 or whatever. And in that time, Seth Rollins has been in the WWE. He's been a big star in the WWE. I'm not going to sit here and say that Seth Rollins is a bigger household name than CM Punk, even in 2025 or 2024 heading into 2025. I think that more people, especially casual viewers, especially non-wrestling fans, way more people are going to know the name CM Punk than Seth Rollins. I think that's just a fact. That's just a fact. But it does kind of bother me when Punk is trying to make it out to be like, he had a line during that where he said that he shielded Seth from getting fired, basically. He's basically taking credit for Seth Rollins not getting fired from the WWE before the Shield was brought up onto the main roster from NXT. And I do take some exception to that because I don't think there's any proof or legitimacy to that Seth Rollins was on the chopping block from the company. The reason I say that is because at the time, Seth Rollins was probably the biggest name and probably the best booked person in FCW/NXT. He had, I believe, if I remember correctly, he lost the NXT championship to Big E. And I can't remember exactly when it became the NXT championship from FCW, because I think Bo Dallas might have technically. I know Bo Dallas was the first NXT champion when the show started on the network. And I think Bo beat Big E for the title, if I remember correctly. And Big E, I think, beat Rollins for it. This was so long ago, it's hard to remember. Oh, thank you, Muhammad in the chat. It says January 27th, 2024 was the exact day that Punk left, because that was the Royal Rumble 2024. I think 2023 because it was so, 2024 just started. So that that makes perfect sense. So, but once again, like, I kind of take exception to the idea that Punk is saying that he's without exactly saying, he's basically taking credit for Rollins not getting fired in 2013 or whatever, when the Shield debuted on the main roster. So it's like, I don't think that that's true, because Rollins was in a good spot in FCW and NXT, and he would have definitely been on the main roster one way or another. Now, I will 1,000,000% admit, I think it's just a straight up fact that, like, the Shield, obviously as a group, that jump started and gave those three guys a massive push to where all three guys became main event stars for the company. And Roman went on to become arguably the biggest star the company has created in the last, decade plus. I think the Shield was outside of, the New Day, because of the longevity, I think you'd have to give it to them as like the top trio in like the history of the WWE. But for the time that the Shield was around, in that handful, I don't remember exactly how long it was, probably, a few years. For that few years that the Shield was around, they were the best three-man group I think I've ever seen in the WWE. Especially for what it did for those guys coming out of it. Like I said, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things for Punk where it's like, there's kind of truth to it and there kind of isn't, right? Like, I think that there is truth in CM Punk going to the office in the WWE and saying, hey, I need some quote unquote protection for my WWE title run, and I want three guys from NXT to come up to the main roster and be a group that helps me retain the championship. I think that did happen. And according to CM Punk, he wanted Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley, and Chris Hero were his three choices. The company decided instead of Chris Hero, they'd put Roman Reigns with the group, because obviously they had hopes of him becoming a major star, Roman Reigns, and obviously once again the group worked out phenomenally, and all three guys wound up becoming WWE champion, and Seth Rollins is still one of the biggest stars in the company. Roman Reigns is the biggest star, outside of arguably maybe Cody, depending on how you look at it. But you know what I mean? Over the last decade or whatever, Roman's definitely been the biggest star. And Moxley is, obviously the AEW World Champion, pretty much the main star of that show. So it's one of those things where like there's truth in both of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Rollins was helped by Punk, but I don't think it was as severe as like, excuse me, that Punk saved Rollins' career. He might have, though. He might have. There's no way of me knowing how on the chopping block Seth was or wasn't. So those are the little things about the way that Punk does these kind of interviews but I also think that it's meant to be that way. I think it's meant to be a gray area. Because if it wasn't, then Punk could easily just cut a super white meat babyface promo and just say things that he knows, are going to get babyface reactions, that aren't going to be controversial, that, are nicer, more polite ways of addressing Seth Rollins. But that also isn't CM Punk. That wouldn't be authentic to who he is either. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. I don't particularly like him basically saying that, Seth Rollins is second string, and it's like, well, he's second string because he in Punk's mind, Seth Rollins became first string when CM Punk was gone, but now that CM Punk is back, the real star is back. Time for the guy who was playing fill-in to go back to the bench is essentially what he said. And in my personal opinion, Seth Rollins is a better athlete. Seth Rollins is a better professional wrestler. I think CM Punk is probably better on the microphone. Both guys have a lot to offer, don't get me wrong. But on a one-to-one comparison, I'd take Seth Rollins over CM Punk if I was starting a promotion right now. But I'm also pretty biased, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that. I'm going to read some chats real quick. Jeremy should be back maybe within the next 10 minutes or so. I may go on to other topics while he's gone, depending on how we're looking on time. But let's see what you guys have to say in the chat. As I mentioned a minute ago, now would be a great time to put some comments in the live chat, because I'll go through some of this stuff. We got this earlier. Bonkers LFC, thank you for being a part of the show. Says Cody was disappointed. He ran and left the company. Don't talk about Woods like that. I haven't said anything bad about Woods. As I mentioned before, I cheer for Woods against everybody except for Cody. I love Woods, Austin, whatever you want to call him. I'm a huge fan on a personal level. And like I said, I have mutual friends. I have some good mutual friends with him, and my brother hangs out with him on occasion. I won't show the picture just for privacy, but I got a picture from my brother just not that long ago, within the last couple months, where my brother was in a car. He's in the front seat, his buddy is driving, and Woods is in the back with their other buddy. My brother's hanging out with Woods. I was like, oh dude, that's crazy. So no, I love Woods. No Woods slander here, but when it comes down to the high school stories that I was a part of, I'm definitely going to side with Cody. It just is what it is. Who likes Fig Shorts? Who is always in the chat. I appreciate it. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, by the way. I think it's Who Likes Fig Shorts. But we always appreciate you being here in the show. I always see you in the chat. This question: who is it driving the Death Rider's little wagon around the desert? Marina chauffeur. That's a good one. Maggie in the chat. What's up, Maggie? Maggie's got a shower. I wonder if she's in the shower right now listening to this, but she said that earlier. Maggie, we love you. Thank you very much for always being in here and supporting the show. We always appreciate it. Hope you're having a great day. What else we got? We talked about this a little bit already, but Ken Bruno, thank you very much for being a part of the show. Says it's going to hit them hard when Kofi and Xavier help Kevin win the belt at Saturday Night's Main Event. We already addressed that. I think that Cody's going to retain it Saturday Night's Main Event, but there are a lot of people that really want to see Owens get the job done. But like I said earlier, there was a lot of those same people that were convinced Gunther was going to beat Cody, and think that Cody's going to lose the title before WrestleMania and then potentially win it back and stuff. I think Cody holds that title until at least WrestleMania. It's just going to be a bigger question of, is Cody going to wrestle The Rock one-on-one for the WWE Championship versus the People's Championship, or is The Rock not going to wrestle WrestleMania and we're going to get The Rock versus Cody again, or sorry, Cody versus Roman Reigns again. So we'll see. Ken also says one of those belts has to switch. If not Cody, then Gunther drops to Finn. I don't see either belt switching really anytime soon, honestly. I'm not against the idea of Finn getting a big singles push again. I'd completely forgotten that he was one half of the tag team champions until Jeremy reminded me of that last week during the show. But Finn is too talented to be an afterthought, and especially with the new regime, this new WWE landscape with Triple H and Nick Khan and excuse me, and the way that they've been doing stuff and kind of pushing their guys again and stuff. Finn is obviously a big Triple H guy. Finn was very well used when he was in NXT. He's one of the best NXT champions in history, in my opinion. That's not really an opinion. I think that's just a straight up fact. He was during the network era. I love that whole timeline of Neville, aka Pac, him the champion, then Sami Zayn beating him for the title, And then Kevin Owens squashing Sami Zayn for the title the way that he did when Owens came into the company, with all that hype being Kevin Steen on the indies, and then Balor eventually beating Owens for that thing. And then Balor had like a legendary run with it. So, and then of course, Finn Balor won the Universal Championship, first ever Universal Champion, had to get rid of the title right away and never really got back up to that spot. But I'm all for a Finn Balor push, so I'm right there with you. I don't know if he necessarily beats Gunther, but I'm interested in the match, and I wouldn't hate the idea. I am a Balor fan. I'm a Gunther fan also, though, for what it's worth. Remorse Betrayal, thank you for being a part of the show, says, I'm going to be a blubbering mess when Cena retires. Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Because we don't know exactly what Cena's going to do during 2025, but we know he's doing his retirement tour. I wouldn't be surprised if The Rock's not going to do WrestleMania this year, or if they want to do The Rock versus Roman this year, I would have Cena versus Cody. And I think that we're going to get that match regardless. We'll get that either way over the next year, but I could potentially see Cena and Cody at WrestleMania. And I think Cena's going to retire at the end of the year, or maybe go until like the Rumble of 26 or something like that show. But I think he's going to wrap it up right around the end of 2025, I think is how it sounds. But yeah, it's going to be an emotional time for a lot of us. I was one of those, big time Cena haters back in the day. I was actually in the crowd in New Orleans the first time that John Cena sucks. Like, I was in that crowd when that chant became a thing, and I was doing it loud and proud in that crowd. I despised John Cena for a long time, and he really started winning me over during the time of the U.S. Open challenges when he was wrestling guys like Sami Zayn and Stardust and stuff like that, and having banger matches and doing more of the quote unquote indie style. And I was like, oh damn, Cena, when Cena wants to go, he can, and he's elevating other talent. And it really turned around for me during that US Open challenge run. And honestly, ever since then, I've been pro Cena. And in hindsight, looking back on it now and everything, I give Cena all the respect in the world. And, I would have no problem with saying, John Cena is the best WWE superstar of all time. I think that's a very legitimate. I'd probably agree with that. As a matter of fact, you can make arguments for other people, but if you're talking just strictly WWE and not other companies and a whole body of work from other companies around the world and stuff, talking just WWE, Cena probably is the best they've ever had. But when you look at his longevity, he was on top for 10, 15 years, legitimately full-time top guy. Not even just the wrestling, all the media appearances, learning Mandarin while he's on airplanes and stuff. I mean, just the guy's a machine. So yeah, we'll all be there. Even I think Cena haters are going to be choked up whenever he finally calls it quits for good. Muhammad, thank you for being a part of the show. I read one of your comments earlier. I appreciate what you're putting in here today. Says Muhammad says, good morning on a Thursday morning, Fightful Overbooked. I hope you're well, man, as well as your health and life, and same with everything here in live chat. Hey, I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. People show Muhammad love in the chat as well. I hope, just like he does, that everyone's happy, healthy, safe, having a good Thursday. I'm getting over being sick myself, but I am feeling a lot better now. So I do appreciate that, and I am going to be going on a trip. It's so funny. I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm having to miss 2 center stage shows in Atlanta because I'll be on a trip that I scheduled a year ago. I leave today at 3 p.m. But I'm missing those 2 shows plus Kate. I don't say last names on here, but Kate from Fightful hit me up about coming on her YouTube channel tomorrow night to do a live stream with her. And of course it's sorry, Kate, I'm not going to be in town. I'm not going to be around. It's I got invited to do all this fun stuff the next couple of days. And it's just so crazy because I hardly ever get invited to do anything. You know what I mean? And all these people hit me up about, going to shows and doing live streams. And it just happens to be when I have a vacation scheduled for the last year. And it happens to be during that exact time, which is just crazy. But Muhammad also says, excuse me, guys. Muhammad also says, the Shield was an unstoppable force until Randy Orton and Team Hell No defeated them. at one point on SmackDown back in June of 2013. Yeah, but then the Shield did get their licks back, or whatever, however you want to say it, because they wound up beating Evolution. Remember, I think it was back-to-back big shows. They beat Evolution, and then that's right after that was when Seth turned. So the Shield really was like at the top of their game when they broke up, which I think was smart. I think it's a way better idea in wrestling to leave people wanting more and quitting something while it's hot than waiting until it gets lame and then having to like pivot once people have already kind of soured on you or like don't care as much. And then you have to like really build your way from the ground up again versus leaving something when it's hot, pivoting, and then people just like keep riding with you for like the next thing that you're doing. Obviously you hope that the next thing is going to work out as well as the first thing, but obviously it worked out very well for every member of the Shield. So Maggie says, "Nah, I'm out." So I'm assuming you mean you have already taken your shower. So we appreciate you. Oh, she also says, "Steven, sweetie, I love you. Screw Cody L." How are you going to say that? How are you going to say, "I love you," and then follow that up with an immediate screw Cody? Like, come on, Maggie. How are you expecting to get married talking like that? Cyclops is better than Wolverine. Thank you for being a part of the chat. I always see you in here. Says, Cody is a bully. He had no right to talk to the New Day like that. Once a bully, always a bully. LOL. It's funny because, obviously I have firsthand accounts of Cody in high school. I can honestly say he was not a bully, but the Cody lies stuff has always been a thing. Like Cody has even in high school, he would exaggerate stories and all these like little inside jokes and like little things he'd say and do. And like, there is a side of Cody that is, for lack of better words, there's a side of him that likes to troll. You know what I mean? So I got to mute myself and cough real quick. I apologize, y'all. Still getting noticed. I feel so much better than I did before, but a little bit of this is lingering. When the weather changes like this too, my allergies just go crazy. It's like going hot, cold, hot, cold. But yeah, the way that Cody talks about Woods, though, there is, there is a hint of trolling for sure when the way he talks about him. Let's see. Muhammad says, Batista quit the WWE again the same day as Seth Rollins turns on his Shield brothers. That did happen, didn't it? I appreciate you having like these exact timelines and facts, by the way, Muhammad. So would that have been the show, I guess, when Batista went out into the ring and quit like in the ring, like got on the microphone and was like, "I'm done with this." Was that that was the same night? I know he was getting a lot of flack for like the Blue Tista stuff at that time. And obviously he made it through WrestleMania. I was there at that WrestleMania 30, when him and Orton main evented in that triple threat against Danielson, obviously. But that is pretty wild if the timeline does match up like that. Maggie, until I see a ring on this finger, screw Cody. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I'm going to move on, Maggie. You got to be nicer to Cody. Candy in the chat, thank you, Candy, for being a part of the show, says, who is the most successful Shield member overall, like top draw? Oh, it's got to be Roman, right? I mean, I don't think that's really debatable. I think that people can debate till the end of time who their favorite member of the Shield is, or who they think was like the most well-booked member. But when the Shield started, at least in my opinion, it seemed like Moxley was presented as the leader. And Moxley was at that time for sure, and still to this day, honestly, the best on the microphone of those three guys. And, I used to love Jon Moxley when he was on the indies, when he was doing like CZW and stuff. He would cut these really well done promos, and his cadence and delivery was very similar to like Heath Ledger's Joker. You could tell he took like inspiration from that. And he still kind of does to this day with the way that he, his cadence and presentation and stuff. But I remember thinking before Ambrose even got signed to the WWE, I was following him immediately because I wanted to see what he was going to do in FCW because I was a big fan of his indie work. And he did this feud with William Regal that I thought was phenomenal in FCW. And when he wound up on the main roster, I was like, oh, Ambrose is going to be the main guy out of these three. And also a lot of people expected him to be the one that turned heel eventually on the group. You know, if and when someone turned, they expected it to be Ambrose. But like immediate success wise, it was Rollins first because Rollins turned on the group. He joined up with the Authority and Triple H and all, and that whole group, and won the Money in the Bank, and then went on to become the WWE champion, first of those guys. The Roman thing didn't work for a long time. They shoved him down our throats, and you know the fans did not want it. And he main evented WrestleMania after WrestleMania after WrestleMania, and was getting booed out of the building as a babyface. I was there live at some of those too. I was there live when he wrestled. Excuse me, when he wrestled the Undertaker in the main event of WrestleMania 33. I was there live. He didn't necessarily he did get booed. He got booed bad the next night on Raw. And I was there live for that also. And I was booing along with the crowd. And then also WrestleMania 34 the next year. I was there live at that one too in New Orleans. And he got booed out of the building against Brock Lesnar in the main event. So, you know, but obviously they turn it around with Roman whenever he finally made a legitimate heel turn, the tribal chief and the bloodline story, obviously. Like, I think at this point it's pretty clear that Roman, like, he kind of fulfilled the prophecy, right? Like he is the guy that WWE wanted him to be for the last decade. It just took like 7 years to get there, but now he is there as a heel and now as a babyface. See, the debate always was, why didn't you turn Roman Reigns heel when he was getting booed out of the building, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago? Why didn't you do it then? Because, by the time the fans started cheering him, he'd be a babyface, and by now he'd be like the most over babyface of the show. That is still the way things wound up ultimately playing out, because right now in this moment, we're literally witnessing that now, but it just took like years and years longer than people expected it to. What's up, Jeremy? I'm still just talking WWE, reading stuff from the chat, but yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can move on from WWE topics. I got all my thoughts on CM Punk out of the way. But yeah, good. Thank you everyone in the chat for keeping me busy while Jeremy was gone. Also, JPJ Loves Gaming. Always good to see you here. Always good to see you here in the chat. So it's still the best promo of his career. I believe you're talking about the Roman Reigns promo the night after he beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. I was talking about how I was in the crowd for both of those nights, and I was right there with everyone booing the hell out of Roman Reigns. But things obviously worked out. It just took a lot longer than it probably should have for him to be the top babyface in the company, which he's doing now. But anyway, I don't know if you want to add anything, but I know we got to move on to other topics. I didn't do any other topics while you were gone. So
okay.
Yeah. So we got to probably rifle through most of this.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
Toni Storm is back. She is no longer timeless.
That was kind of a disappointment.
Really? Okay.
Not that she's back, but like I think that the Timeless Toni Storm gimmick was like the best thing she's ever done by far, and it was like super over and one of the most entertaining things, probably for you, the most entertaining thing when it came to like the post-fight pressers and stuff like that, where she would just be in character and just say her lines and get out of there.
Mariah May does a good job of that as well. So I respect Mariah May for not wasting time either.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm torn on it only because like, I don't think it's one of those things that she can always go back to the Timeless Toni stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's always like a story or something that can happen that makes her need to revert back to almost like a split personality type character. It's like her Mankind Dude Love Cactus Jack scenario. She's got like the Timeless Toni Storm. She's got the like punk rock kind of Toni Storm that we're the classic Toni Storm, split personalities. But you know, I don't want to pass like negative judgment on it, honestly, because I don't. My thing is like the Timeless Toni stuff, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like that was way more over than anything Toni's ever done in her career. So it's like you're kind of going back to the thing where like she was okay as classic Toni Storm, but she was like the top woman in the company as Timeless Toni. So like it just kind of feels like a step backwards to go back to the original thing when the new thing was working so well. But at the same time, I just talked about this, when it came to the breakup of the Shield, it's also better to pivot and change stuff up or whatever, or leave when you're at your peak and you leave people wanting more versus, maybe Timeless Toni gets stale and then people wind up like souring on it and they turn on her and then she has to revert back to classic Toni Storm. And by then, like, she's lost the crowd. So like, they didn't give it a chance for the Timeless Toni thing to get stale. They just pivoted right back over. So from that sense, it might have been a good idea, leave people wanting more. And then that way also, whenever she goes back to that gimmick, if she does, people are going to really want to see it. So, but I think it was pretty obvious when with the main event last night being the AEW Women's Title, it was pretty obvious that Toni was going to be returning at the end of the show. I think we all expected it, but I did not expect it to. I thought it was going to be Timeless Toni coming back.
I think there's only so much mileage you can get out of Timeless Toni Storm, and I think they got the mileage they got out of it, which was a whole lot. Like, it was one of the best women's title reigns they've had, and now whenever they want, they can go back to Timeless Toni Storm if they want to. But for the sake of this, like, you can only play this movie starlet for so long and do these kind of videos and do this gimmick for so long. At some point, you probably got to be a professional wrestler. And her matches were good as Timeless Toni Storm. They were maybe not on the level I think a lot of people thought and hoped they were going to be as like Toni Storm, as we've seen her in the ring, because she was playing the character and she did it exceptionally well. Again, I don't know how long you could have gotten out of the Timeless character. And like you said, it's probably better to pivot away from that before people are like, okay, can we see something a little bit different? When you're that gimmicky of a character, again, you can only get so much mileage out of something that gimmicky. Even the Undertaker was smart enough to switch things up of, hey, I'm a dead man, now I'm an American Badass. Then you go back to being a dead man, and then you're just kind of whatever, thin blue line Undertaker. Like, you gotta, when you're playing a gimmicky character like that, you gotta switch it up at some point. And it's probably better to switch it up too early than too late. So, for the story, it made sense to switch it up here. Timeless Toni Storm got killed by Mariah May. She went off the deep end after losing to Mariah May. She lost in CMLL. She lost in Stardom. She said she was retiring. She's leaving professional wrestling. Well, Timeless Toni Storm left professional wrestling. She's off to do timeless things. And now Rebel, Rocker, whatever you want to call her, Toni Storm is back. So I thought it was a good pivot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those are all good points. And like I said, well, both of us agree. Excuse me. It's way better to pivot now than let people sour on her and get tired of the gimmick and then decide to do it. You don't want like a Jericho situation. Like, the thing that's what's so crazy about the Jericho thing that's happening right now with the Learning Tree is like people have like legitimately soured on him, and a lot of people don't want him on the show anymore. But up until this particular gimmick, Jericho was always very good about realizing he needed to pivot before the fans realized he needed to pivot. But when you're late on the pivot, that's when it can be a real problem, because then you're really having to like work from the ground up to like reestablish yourself. And yeah, for Toni's sake, I mean, and honestly, this could wind up working out great. I mean, she's still obviously the same human being, right? I mean, it's like, so, if she could be that good as Timeless Toni, there's no reason why she couldn't do the same with this gimmick now that she's got another chance to kind of go back to the Rebel or whatever. So it's good to see her back. I will also say I was a little confused by the main event last night because Shirakawa hit her with the hit Mariah with her finisher and pinned her for a 2 count. I looked away for like half a second. I don't know if I missed something. It was like a headbutt or something. Something happened, and like Mariah hit her with the power driver like right away. I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, she just got hit with her finisher, kicked out at 2, and the match is over. So did she do anything like to cheat before her finish, or like what?
My memory on this stuff sucks.
Someone in the chat's gonna have to remind me, because I was so confused, because I was watching the show obviously, and it was like Mina hit her finisher, pin Toni, 1, 2, kick out. I look away for a second, look back up. Tony's hitting her with the pile driver, 1, 2, 3, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?"
Yeah, she didn't. I don't think she hit her with. I don't remember her hitting her. It certainly wasn't like a cheating or anything. If it was anything, it was just quick. She hit the Stormbreaker, and that was that.
Yeah, but it's like not the Stormbreaker,
or Storm Driver, Storm Zero. Sorry, whatever.
Yeah,
it's called.
Stormbreaker.
It's a quick pile driver.
But no, I know what you mean. That's why I just said pile driver.
Yeah,
but yeah, the short pile driver, whatever. But yeah, good to see Toni back, and it'll be. I don't know when we're gonna get Mariah versus Toni, but I'm sure it'll happen in the near future at a big show. I don't know if that'll be at World's End, but probably makes sense.
I don't know if they're gonna do Toni and Mariah at World's End. I think
they might wait till like Revolution.
No, they have the show in Australia.
Oh, okay.
It feels like that's probably gonna make the most sense.
That hands down makes the most sense. I would be surprised if they didn't do that, actually. So that makes perfect sense.
But they're going to need a women's match on World's End. And that's where it's like, okay, what match are you going to do? Because Mercedes is facing Anna Jay next week on the show. So you don't have a whole lot of time to set up Mercedes' next challenger unless it's going to be Camille. And then, all right, sure. But that being the only women's match doesn't scream, hey, good women's wrestling on the show. Like, just one women's match is Mercedes and Camille. Like, I'm sure it'll be fine. Mercedes is very good. There isn't a whole lot of interest, I don't think, from many people with the Camille character. And I don't think a lot of people want to see her win the title or believe she's going to win the title. And if she does, like, all right, that's your decision. I don't think a whole lot of people want that.
I agree. I completely agree. I will say, though, just, Mercedes is coming off of the best match of her AEW career against Chris Statlander. I think that Chris Statlander is ultra talented. I'm a big Statlander fan. And I do think that Statlander is significantly better than Camille is, just for what it's worth. But Mercedes is, obviously everyone knows Sasha Banks, right? She was great. She's great. She's great in the ring. She always has been. But she's left a lot to be desired, I feel like, in AEW as a character and with most of her matches. But I'm going to be a little more optimistic about it going forward, because if they can even somewhat replicate the success of the Statlander versus Mercedes match and with Mercedes and Camille, then that's a W. So like, Camille has proven that like she had some really good matches in the NWA when the NWA was at like its lowest. Like, she had like a match with like Layla Hirsch, for instance, that was like really, really good. So like, Camille's capable of having good matches, and against Mercedes, I'll stay optimistic about it that could wind up being better than what people expect. So
I think it'll be fine because Mercedes is good, and if Camille can base for her, like, it'll be fine. I just don't think there's a whole lot of interest in just Camille right now, and
the story was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't a good story. Good story. No, we shall see if that's what they do, if that's the match they decide to go with, or if they just do Mariah and Toni as it's the first match to set up a bigger match at Grand Slam, which is also possible. With one match we do know at World's End will be Jon Moxley against Orange Cassidy, against Hangman Page, against Jay White for the AEW World Title. What did you think when this was announced?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think there's any way that Jon Moxley loses the title in that match?
No.
Either do I. And that's kind of the problem, I guess. It's like, it's the main event, or I'm assuming will probably be the main event of the pay-per-view. and there's like pretty much no doubt in my mind that Mox is going to retain. And you agree, and I think most of the chat probably agrees. I would have probably preferred if they did like Mox versus Jay White or Mox versus Hangman, but
yeah, but I don't think he was going to lose the title in those matches either. Like, you can't just book based on, oh, is he going to lose the title? Because then you're throwing out a lot of title matches. I didn't think Cody was going to lose the title to AJ Styles his first reign. So what? You're just not going to book the match?
No. Well, that's what I'm saying is I think there's more. I think it's more likely that people would think Hangman has a chance of beating Moxley than like Moxley losing the title in a 4-way match. Because the 4-way is like a big out to like just pin Orange Cassidy again, probably.
I don't know if that's going to be the case. I see the 4-way as not being the out to pin Orange Cassidy. I see, and I assume this is what they're going for, is like, oh, Moxley can lose the title without being pinned.
Right.
Whereas if he just faced Hangman, Hangman's coming off 2 pay-per-view losses. So I don't even think he should be in this match. A match against Jay White, I don't see him losing a match one-on-one against Jay White. Like, it's just not going to be time to end Moxley's reign regardless. Maybe it should be, but I just don't like. Darby seems to be the guy they're setting up for this. So basically every title reign or every title match until you get to Darby feels like, all right, we're just doing stuff until we get to Darby. But like, you obviously got to book a title match.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I just feel like, I guess honestly, and this is just a personal thing, and it may not even be right that I even care, but I would just prefer it was a one-on-one match for the title, regardless of who it was, than a fatal 4-way. Or if it was going to be a 4-way, I'd like to see like an elimination style match. That's just me personally. But I understand what you're saying though about like anybody could beat anybody in that match, and Moxley could lose the championship without being pinned, and that adds another layer to it and stuff. So I don't disagree with that. I do think it's strange that everybody is pretty much a heel, but except for Orange Cassidy, and Jay White is like a pseudo babyface but never turned. Hangman, we talk about every week. He's the most interesting character in the company. I love Hangman Page, but like these are pretty much all heels. It's just weird. It's weird booking. It's strange, but the match will be good though. I will say, I mean, like obviously the 4 guys are super talented. I think it's going to be a good match, but I was kind of surprised that they announced that as the main event or as the title match for Full Gear. We don't know if it's going to be the main event, but I'm assuming it probably will be. But
I think they were clearly setting up the 4-way. It looked like it was going to be a 3-way with Hangman and Jay White for the past couple of weeks, and then once Orange Cassidy returned, it was like, yeah, that's going to probably be the 4-way that they're doing.
But it's like Orange Cassidy just got beat. Like, he just lost a title match. Why would he be in this even?
Oh, if we're discussing merit, yeah, why is Orange Cassidy in this when he just got beat? Why is Hangman Page in this when he's lost 2 straight pay-per-view matches? I know at least Hangman beat Wheeler Yuta on Collision, so there's at least that. He's got a singles win there, but like, you've lost twice to Jay White. Again, if I'm Jay White, I'm pissed off that this is a 4-way at all, because I've got back-to-back wins over Hangman. But yeah, you guys kick rocks. Get out of here. You lost. I've beaten you twice. I deserve this match one-on-one.
I agree.
If I'm Jay White, I'm upset about this.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I think that's completely logical line of thinking. And I would have preferred, once again, if it was just Jay White versus Moxley. Even though I think Moxley would retain, obviously, I would have liked to see Jay White one-on-one in that one. But, it's like you said, we're all expecting Darby to be the guy to eventually beat Moxley for the title. So, like, until that match is set, all of this are going to feel like almost like fill-ins until that happens. All we can really hope, I feel like, is that the Death Rider story just like gets better. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I'm not saying it's like terrible or like it sucks. It's better than like the Elite's attempt at, their takeover or whatever. But I don't know how long you stretch this out either, because Darby doing, Everest and all this stuff, and like are they going to wait until like All In like if they do that really like another like half a year or whatever to drag this thing out. Like I don't know. I'm just kind of a weird spot. I don't particularly like the death. Like I like what they're attempting to do with the storyline, but the actual Death Riders group, I'm not the biggest fan of. Like it just is what it is.
I think it's gotten better the past couple of weeks. I think it's lost its sort of message over the course since they turned on Danielson, though. And maybe they can bring it back around. But the stuff with Yuta now seems more on the back burner, where he was such a focal point. Like he got a lot of heat last night. They were chanting "F you, Yuta." So I hope they have some type of plan to go. I don't know if you make Yuta out of this, but I hope they just have some type of plan to build him up into where he's not just, hey, this guy on the show. But like Yuta losing singles matches, Pac losing singles matches, Claudio is not even like part of these attacks because, he's too focused on the Continental Classic right now. The Darby promo last night was really good, but one issue I take with it is he's like, yeah, it's great to be in the Continental Classic. Like this is what AEW is all about. And this is the heart of AEW, and this is what the Death Riders or Jon Moxley like have forgotten. And AEW gave Jon Moxley a second life on his career, everything. I'm like, there's a championship that's also part of this. Did we just forget about this championship, that this is supposed to be some big prestigious tournament where like, yeah, you win a title at the end. This is not a tournament of this is what AEW is all about, just having great matches in a tournament format. Like, yeah, it's partly true, but it'd be cool if they actually recognize that, you win a title at the end of this. And like this title should feel a little bit important. And trying to babyface the company of without AEW, Jon Moxley would not be in this position. He needs to realize that he got a second lease on his career thanks to AEW. And so it's disrespectful that he's just carrying the title around in this briefcase and everything. It's like, all right, like I don't need to babyface the company and I don't need to heal the company either. I don't need Jon Moxley basically saying like, this place sucks. And, it was better back in the day. Like you have actual like titles to fight for. You have actual like meaning to fight for.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's too much of we're just fighting for and against the mythical vibes of the company.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think that a lot of what Darby said was good, like you said in that promo. Maggie says, "Why did he hit himself?" Yeah, that was kind of weird watching him punch himself in the mouth. But at the same time, it reminded me of like Mick Foley when he would Mankind would pull his hair out, stab himself in the leg during promos and stuff like that. It was similar to that. Yeah, we can move on though, because I got it less than 10 minutes before I got a clock, and that's kind of on me for not moving on topics while you were gone. But wanted to wait for you.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Speaking of four-way matches, Josh Alexander, Steve Macklin, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, they will compete in a four-way match at TNA Final Resolution, and the winner gets a TNA World Title shot against new champion AJ Francis.
So on this show, they're doing Nemeth versus AJ Francis, just for people who might not be clued in. By the way, and we didn't even make it a topic. We could have talked all about Ryan Nemeth and his whole thing with AEW, but maybe we'll leave that for another day. I do not expect AJ Francis to defeat Nick Nemeth for the TNA Championship.
Why not?
On this show. I just don't expect it to happen. I'm not even necessarily saying I don't hope it happens. AJ Francis got the best show name in the game right now. Okay, I'll give that man credit where it's due. But as far as our actual topic for the show, I'm gonna, unless I've missed something and Joel Pearl has switched up, which I doubt he has, I'm gonna go with Mike Santana in this one, because I know Joel has been for months probably the better part of a year at this point, has been saying Santana's the next up for a shot at the TNA World Championship once he gets, kind of through the stuff that he's been doing. And now it just kind of seems like the perfect opportunity of we've seen Hendry get recent shots. We've seen Alexander be the longtime champion. We've seen Macklin kind of get to that point. Has Macklin ever won the TNA Championship, the Impact Championship? Yeah. Yes. I couldn't remember if he did have a run with the title. Was that after Alexander got hurt and had to?
Yeah, he was probably going to beat Alexander at that show, but Alexander got hurt, had to relinquish it, and then Macklin beat Kushida.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for reminding me how that all went down. But almost by process of elimination, in that sense alone, it's like Santana's the one guy in this group who hasn't been in that spot yet, and not only do I think Santana has a really good chance at winning number one contendership, and the winner goes on to Genesis for the title, I think Santana has a damn good shot of becoming the TNA champion. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have a chance to do that. He has great matches. He's over. He's never been the world champion before, but he's world champion in other companies and stuff. He's really big in House of Glory and stuff, and other big indies. He obviously has the recognition and the TV status from his time in his previous run in Impact, and then of course with AEW. So yeah, that's my prediction. I think that Mike Santana is going to win the Fatal 4-Way and go on to Genesis to challenge Nemeth for the championship. What about you?
It seems like it's going to be Mike Santana. That seems like who they're setting up. I think they missed the boat on Joe Hendry. Yep. Feels like that kind of passed. Josh Alexander is going to be a free agent at the start of next year. February 14th is when he's going to be a free agent. So, maybe he gets a title shot and that's his send off is he loses that match, but he's a heel. Nemeth he's a baby face, but he's working with JBL. So it seems like he might be a heel sooner rather than later. Yeah. I like Macklin. I don't know if he's going to be in that spot. It seems like they're setting up for Mike Santana. They've pushed him. They've protected him. Feels like he's probably going to get that. It probably should have been Joe Hendry.
They should have pulled the trigger on him months ago.
Yeah, for sure. But they've lost it now.
Yeah.
So
he's probably got a brighter future in WWE at some point going forward.
Yeah. We'll see if that's where they go, if that's where he goes, and kind of go from there.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Santana as well.
What was our other topic?
Matt Cardona challenging for the ROH World Title at GCW at ROH Final Battle.
Yeah, that was unexpected to see him pop up in Ring of Honor. Good for him.
Yeah,
him and Jericho. That's not really what you think about when you think of classic Ring of Honor. It's a Jericho versus Cardona match. You'd more likely expect to see that on Netflix. But I'm obviously happy for Cardona. I'm a big fan of his. I'm a supporter of really everything he does. I'm a big supporter of the major wrestling figure podcast and all their action figures and stuff that they produce. And I'm fans of those guys as human beings, big time. But not just that. I think that Cardona, I don't know if he gets the credit he deserves or not, but for what he's done since leaving the WWE, he legitimately is probably the top independent wrestler in the world. And I don't mean necessarily I like him the best of all the wrestlers on the indies or that. I think he's the best in-ring guy. What I mean by that is star power wise and what he's done to help all these companies. He wrestles all over the place for so many independent promotions, while also at the same time, he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's doing stuff in TNA. He's one of the main faces of GCW, former GCW World Champion, AEW, everywhere. It's he just deserves a ton of credit for the grind and the hustle and really reinventing himself after leaving the WWE. And this would just be another feather in the cap of if he can also somehow get the Ring of Honor World Championship during this run, that's just another, that's a cherry on top. But I do expect Jericho to retain in this one. I do think it was I think it's cool though. Like I was not, as I said, I wasn't expecting to see Cardona pop up in Ring of Honor, but when he did, I thought that him and Jericho had good back and forth. Jericho wanted to call him Zack Ryder, which I thought was funny. And yeah, so I mean, I my prediction is Jericho is going to retain, but I do like that Cardona is involved in the show, and especially because it's that's at Hammerstein, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's New York, that's Cardona's backyard. So I mean, it makes perfect sense.
It's great that Cardona's had a sparkling Ring of Honor record, and it's really earned this title shot.
Right, 100%. Yeah, always ready with the Z.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to the bumper.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Mr. Danger against John Wayne Murdoch in a death match.
Yeah, this was awesome. So the reason this is my spotlight, for one, I was really bummed I couldn't go to the GCW show and see this live because this happened at Center Stage in Atlanta. But Mr. Danger is an Atlanta guy. He was trained at the AR Fox school, and he's become a regular at GCW lately. He's been on a lot of the shows. He's most well known for basically like he'll do a swanton off of anything. Like he just finds like the highest point of the building or like something to jump off of, and he will swanton off of it. But it was a humongous win for him at Center Stage over John Wayne Murdoch. JWM, for those of you unfamiliar, is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best deathmatch wrestlers in the world right now. And for Mr. Danger to beat him in a deathmatch is a humongous stamp of approval for Danger, because I don't really know him. I don't know how many deathmatches he's honestly done in his career. I don't know. I've seen him do plenty of crazy stuff and have some crazy matches, but like, this was awesome. And the way that he beat him too, like Danger hit he calls it the Oblivion 450. It's like kind of like it's like a 450, but he usually goes like halfway across the ring. And he did that to JWM with like tubes on top of his body, which was a really cool visual, just watching all those explode. JWM kicked out at 2, and then JWM hit Danger with a brain buster into light tubes that were in the shape of a star. And I thought that was going to be the end of the match, and Danger kicked out. And then JWM went for another brain buster, and Mr. Danger reversed it into an inside cradle and got the 1-2-3. And I'd imagine it's probably setting up to where Danger will be a part of the 6-person ladder match at Hammerstein, because they're doing an Ultraviolet Championship ladder match at Hammerstein. So I think that it makes sense for Danger to be a part of that, because for one, he beat JWM, but then for two, it was in a death match, which leads me to believe they might. It's building interest in him maybe getting a shot at the Ultraviolet Championship. I have to run to work. I don't remember what our last topic is, but I need to leave right now.
Okay. It was ECW Legends at the Hammerstein Ball.
Oh, you can talk about that. I'll talk about that more once we get to Hammerstein. But yeah, I do expect to see a lot of this. I mean, they're literally having super crazy Tajiri and
Masato Tanaka, Little Guido.
Guido's in that 3-way though. But yeah, they're doing Tanaka versus Joey Janela. Yeah, go ahead and talk about that. I appreciate y'all. I'm sorry I have to run early, but I need to be on time at work today because I'm leaving super early to go on my vacation. So see y'all. Have a good day.
Bye,
Happy
Jensen.
Thursday.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Yes, the ECW Legends coming to GCW, the People versus GCW Hammerstein Ballroom. I mentioned Masato Tanaka, Joey Janela, Little Guido, Super Crazy. Rhino is going to be on the show. It's a smart move by GCW to use the ECW nostalgia here, because last time they were at Hammerstein, they did not really play into that. They instead tried to use AEW talent with Ruby Soho and Jeff Jarrett, and then they put that talent over their homegrown talent, and a lot of people were upset about that, and probably rightfully so. This feels more like they're no stranger to using GCW or to using ECW talent just on their normal shows. So this feels more like it's a GCW style show. Look, ECW nostalgia plays. We just saw NXT use ECW nostalgia very well at the ECW arena and pop a number for that against AEW. So it's a smart move by GCW. We'll see if they get other names involved. I think Van Dam is a name you can always throw out there, because he seems like as long as he's available and the money's good, he has no problem doing it. Sabu has kind of sort of not really worked with GCW in the past. He was supposed to be in the Indie Hall of Fame, and then he's just like, no, not doing that. So maybe Sabu pops up there. Trying to think who else they could potentially have. I don't know if Just Incredible is still doing stuff. I think that would be an interesting name just because we don't see him a whole lot in the wrestling spotlight anymore. So it would be interesting to see if he could pop up there. Stevie Richards has a podcast, so there's that. He might show up. The Sandman is certainly a name. I feel like Sandman might actually be there. Would not be shocked to see Sandman. Him and Janela are kind of, I don't know how close they are, but they've been hanging out. So Sandman showing up to that thing could be very possible. I would expect more ECW names to be on this show. All right, everybody, let's get into our interview with our pal Jarrett Bailey. A lot of football talk, a fair amount of wrestling talk as well. I will be complete. We did hit some wrestling, but a lot of football talk. Jarrett covers the NFL for Sporting News, so obviously a lot of football talk in there. All right, everybody, let me load this up. But in the creator spotlights, our pal Jarrett Bailey. Welcome back, everyone, to the spotlight here on Fightful. I'm still Jeremy Lambert. That's still Stephen Jensen. And joining us today, I don't know why he's here to talk about wrestling, because I don't even know if he likes wrestling, but he's from the Sporting News, SB Nation, Believe Network, just Twitter in general, memes. You're blowing up the NFL memes page I see every now and again. It's Jarrett Bailey. You've seen him on this channel before, a long time ago. We did shows together, but it's been a while. Jarrett, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bud. Yeah, you guys just like randomly DM me. You're like, you want to come on the spotlight? It's like, yeah, why not? I'm not doing anything else. So
I don't know if you even like wrestling anymore. Like, I don't see you tweet about wrestling.
I'm still tweeting about wrestling. I think for the most part, it's just like, I don't know, because like I don't buy into like the whole tribalism stuff. It's annoying to me, and as it is to I think most people in the field of the people who cover wrestling. But yeah, it's just become kind of annoying when I talk about wrestling, because like when I talk about it, nobody gives a shit. They follow me for my football stuff, which fair enough. But yeah, I mean AEW isn't as hot as it was, a couple years ago, and that's kind of like my first. I don't want to say allegiance because I love wrestling, but like AEW brought me back to wrestling, and it's not as hot as it was before. And just I haven't died off on it too much. I don't tweet about it as much, but yeah, I'm still watching. I make my girlfriend watch it every Wednesday with me, and it's a good time. So I'm still very much engaged. Don't you worry.
Yeah, well, and that's
you're engaged. That's breaking news.
Oh no.
No, well, that's actually a good question I wanted to ask you, because so what do you think, in your opinion, has made it, like, what is the reason that you think AEW has cooled off? Like, being a big fan of like early AEW and saying you feel like it's cooled off lately.
I think that the lack of about this, and I think he kind of knocked it out of the park, or maybe it was Meltzer, one of the bigger names, so forgive me if I misattributed it, but the fact that like the people who are being pushed, I don't think that the fans necessarily want to see those people pushed. When guys like Hangman or when Kenny Omega was completely healthy, we had him in a tag team with Chris Jericho rather than just keeping him on top, doing top guy things for the entirety of him being around and doing, Kenny Omega stuff. It's just like a bunch of stuff that feels easy, and that the fans are telling you like, hey, we like this, so keep doing it. Now we're gonna do Golden Jet stuff. We're like, why? Like nobody wants this. So I think it's getting a little bit away from their top stars. Not to say that they haven't done a good job of making new ones. Like Swerve's had a great year. Will Ospreay's obviously had a great year. He was a top star before coming to AEW, but he's had an incredible year since signing with the promotion. So, and again, it's not me saying, oh man, AEW is horrible, because I think that those people are a little bit goofy as well. So I think it's just certain stars that you want to see presented as stars that haven't really been. And some of those things you can't control. Like Kenny's, was battling a life-threatening illness, so that's completely understandable. But now that he's going to be coming back, in the near future, okay, let's treat him like Kenny Omega rather than have him do a bunch of mid-card stuff with an aging Chris Jericho. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I just think a lot of that, and plus all the Punk stuff that took place really took a lot of wind out of their sails. So yeah, the last year and a half or so has just been really weird for AEW. I don't know, maybe if I see Tony Khan at the Senior Bowl, I'll ask him about it and he'll tell me to go away. We'll see.
He'll tell you things are great. Everything's great. We've had a great year. We're about to stream on Max. The simulcast is a big deal for AEW, but fans can still watch on TBS and TNT. Don't worry, everybody who watches on TBS and TNT. You can still watch that way, but we're going to create new fans on Max with the simulcast. And we're in for a great year. All in Texas, AEW All in Texas. It's going to be great with the all. Okay, I'll stop. I've listened to so many Tony Khan interviews over the past week because he's just doing a bunch of media. So he's giving the same answer to. It doesn't matter what question you ask him. You can ask him "Hey, Tony, you can ask him about the Jaguars. What's going on with Trevor Lawrence?" It's AEW's doing great. We're coming to Texas. It's going to be fantastic.
The Jaguars are one bad hit to Mac Jones away from starting Darby Allin at quarterback, and I think that's a pretty great.
Darby can hold up. It doesn't matter the line. He'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll bounce back up.
Darby doesn't care. He'll take all the hits and bounce back up. So maybe that's what he needs.
He'll be there for the next play. He'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Who would be a quarterback from AEW? Who is legitimately might be okay at quarterback?
Oh, that's a good question. So it's got to be someone on the taller side. They don't have to be a giant because I don't think that would work. I think that. Oh, that's hard.
Billy Gunn. That's just the answer to everything.
Billy Gunn. Yeah, that's a good one.
Billy Gunn. Maybe Jay White. Maybe Malachi. Just trying to think of the dudes who are look like they could be built for. I don't know. Jay White might be a little bit too slim. So Malachi might be. Malachi looks like Trevor Lawrence if he went through an emo phase. So that actually might work for the Jaguars. So Malachi Black. That's my rough draft answer right now, unless I think of someone else during the midst of this show. But Malachi, I think, could be pretty all right at it.
I think he has the look. Too many injuries. I know he's not injured now. Don't put out there that he's injured now, but he's had some injury issues over the years.
Honestly, for how good he is at talking, I think Max could do it. He's a good size. I think that he
used to play football.
He played football. I think that MJF would actually be probably the best because he's media savvy, knows what to say and how to, paint certain pictures. Yeah, maybe Max would be better than Malachi.
Now, is this an AEW only question, Jeremy? Because I feel like this would be easier to answer for WWE wrestlers.
If you fucking say Cody Rhodes, then I'm kicking you off of the show.
Already. He's QB1 already.
He calls himself that. Nobody calls him QB1. Nobody.
I also found that I kind of dug it a little bit. Kind of fun, if you want to kind of bring the sports presentation into WWE and present yourself as I don't mind it too much. I think that's okay.
Nobody calls him that. In the words of Kevin Owens, he gave that nickname to himself. That's why Kevin Owens.
What position would Kevin Owens be? I think that he would be the have you ever seen The Program?
No.
It's a great college football movie, but there's a lineman whose name is Bud Light Kaminsky, and he's great. I think that Kevin Owens would be the Bud Light Kaminsky of the football team there.
Yeah, definitely a lineman for KO. Could see that. He's a little bit smaller. He's big. He's girthy. But I think
he would be a good fullback, like a Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's actually good.
Yeah. It's Pat Westwood type role for Kevin Owens. So we're just gonna build an all wrestler football team. I'm totally down for that.
That's what we should do. I tried to do that on In the Weeds today, and Joel doesn't know anything about football, so he's like, "Is this what we're doing?" I was like, well, "Yeah."
Joel's not in the scene with football. Speaking of football, though, since I'm here, so my sister's got me this advent calendar of mini Funko Pops. So you open a new one every day, and it's a new Funko for each team. And today was a mini Tua Tagovailoa. So
nice.
There you go.
Love it. I got some of those mini ones behind me as well. Those are cool. I did the WWE advent calendar last year. Love those with the Funkos. Yeah, those are sick. I've actually got Tua he's on my fantasy football team, but he's actually on my bench because we start 2 QBs, and I've lucked out with Sam Darnold as one of them. But
it's such a homer pick that just somehow worked out for you. It's so dumb. You took Sam Darnold in like the 13th round, and everybody's like, "What the hell's Jensen doing?" He's taking Sam Darnold, and it's just worked.
Yeah, see, they all expect me to. I do this every season, so I mean, and there's a reason that I've been doing this league. I do one fantasy football league, and I've been doing it with my buddies since high school. We're on like our 17th season or something together, and I've never won the league. I've never won. I mean, and it makes sense because I do stuff like that all the time. I'm always, half my team is Vikings. I mean, it just is what it is. But yeah, luckily they are 11-2 as of the time of this recording, so I'm very happy about that.
Jeremy and I are in a fantasy league together. I think this is the 3rd year that we've done it, and
4th,
yeah, we've done it for a few years in a row. And I currently have the number 1 seed going into the playoffs, so that's pretty sick. I had that last year though too, and I lost. So I'm hoping for a nice little rebound. Sean Ross Sapp gives me tons of shit throughout the year about it too. Like I'll get multiple texts throughout the year. Like he'll get like an injury and be like, "Why do I only have 1 IR spot?" I'm like, "Because that's how I set it up." He's like, "I think that's dumb." And then he puts it in like the group text that we're all in, and everybody starts ravaging me like, "Yeah, that is dumb." I'm like, all right, fine, you can have 2 IR spots then, since Sean Ross Sapp is
I will not comment on you as a commissioner because you already know that I have a bone to pick with you over how the league is run.
That's why we don't do it on Yahoo anymore, because I set the draft order in which Jeremy had the number 1 overall pick, and everybody saw it. We went into the draft and Jeremy was picking last, and so we're like, "Oh, wow,
that's a huge discrepancy too."
It's a complete season changer.
Yeah,
no, I 100% agree. But let it be known that Tempest very much backed me. He's like, "Yeah, Yahoo has a lot of buggy stuff, so now we don't do it on Yahoo because of that."
I don't mind Sleeper. It's working out.
Sleeper's good.
Yeah, it's working out. I think I'm actually trying this year. In past years, I like doing the draft, and then once the season starts, I'm like,
I've very much become that way too. I'm just like, yeah, drafts are fun, so I'll do it. And my whole thing going into this one is like, I just want to draft Josh Allen, and that's gonna be.
I was gonna take him, but you took him 2nd round.
I took him in the 2nd round. Yeah, I was like, I know I'm gonna take Josh Allen.
You took him 2nd round because you picked 2. I think I had the 2nd, or I think I had the 3rd pick, and you picked 2 spots behind me. I wasn't gonna take him 3rd overall. I'm like, I can't really justify taking him 3rd overall, but I was gonna take him either 2nd round or 3rd round before you, but you took him 2nd round, so I was like, I can't do it.
I'm actually going back and looking right now because I want to see who said it, because it made me laugh really hard. I think it was my friend Andrew, who does a lot of 49ers media stuff, who immediately, as soon as I made the pick, he was like, "Big shock from Jarrett there." I was like, "Did you guys know that I like Josh Allen?"
Knew it was coming, and that's why I was gonna try to sneak take him before you could, but I couldn't do it. Second round.
Shout out to Andrew Pasquini, very funny guy. Everybody should go follow him on Twitter, especially if you're a Niners fan. So he's great, and yeah, he very much called me. I was like, "Wow, big surprise there." And hey, it's paid off. Yeah, I don't hide the fact.
Touchdowns this week.
Yeah, it's 6 touchdowns because he's God on football field. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about that. Like honest question about Josh Allen, attribute wise, if we're talking with his size, his running ability, his arm, his decision making, outside of obviously we need some Super Bowl rings, but do you think he potentially is legitimately one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen?
Yeah, I mean the Super Bowl thing is a big part of it.
Right.
But in terms of his physical talent, yeah, I mean we haven't seen anything quite like him. Everybody makes the Cam Newton comparison, but Josh is a much better passer than Cam Newton was. Cam Newton also had a lot of one out. No disrespect to Cam Newton, he had one outlier season where he went 15-1, and then outside of that, he had more losing seasons than winning seasons. So Cam was great physically and gifted, but I think in terms of just being able to put a team on his back, and especially this year where everybody's like, "Oh, the Dolphins are going to win the division. Oh, the Jets are going to win the division," and instead the Bills just got off to their best start in 30 years. So I think that in terms of just pure physical talent, both as a runner and a passer, I think he's the best dual threat quarterback of all time. Where it's just, if Josh Allen takes off and scrambles, it's something positive is going to happen as long as he holds onto the ball. So yeah, I'm also very aware that I'm very biased here. I make no secret about it that he's my favorite player to watch. And I defend him like he's my own relative on that cesspool of an app sometimes. And a lot of it is just because like I'm a Steelers fan and I hate the Ravens with every piece of my fiber of my being. So I'm always gonna, if I can crap on the Ravens, then yeah, I'm gonna do that. So it's a nice little double whammy to defend my favorite player while also dunking on my least favorite team. So yeah, he's great. I want nothing more than for him to win a Super Bowl, just so all of these the Chiefs fans, by the way, on Twitter are annoying too. So just to make them shut up, make all the Ravens fans shut up, it would be great to see him win one this year.
Is a lot of the Chiefs like back and forth, like the comparison between him and Mahomes, like Mahomes has the rings and Allen doesn't, kind of talk?
I mean, yeah, but like I could be talking about Josh Allen, just like point something out that happened this past game, be like, oh, he's the first player to do this. And then some dumbass Chiefs fan would just comment, oh, still no rings. And now there's like a thing going around NFL Twitter where it's like that thing where the person pointing in the mirror and be like, you get in there and you make it about you, but it's just a Chiefs logo, because that's what it's become. It's just so annoying. Like you can't talk about the greatness of one guy without these annoying cesspool 200 followers fans coming in and be like, well, actually, dude, shut the fuck up. Like I didn't ask you. So
it's I feel like NBA Twitter kind of started this and the rings culture of NBA. And I feel like they bullied Kevin Durant to leave. Fuck Kevin Durant, but they bullied him to leave OKC because, oh, you don't have any rings. So he had to go win 2 meaningless rings with the Warriors. But like it became so much about, oh, you rings, where it's like, can we just like kind of appreciate how good this guy actually is? Like it's super hard to win a Super Bowl. I know Patrick Mahomes has now made it look easy and Tom Brady made it look easy, but like it's super hard to just win a championship. Let's not maybe take for granted what we're witnessing elsewhere just because, okay, fine, it didn't end in a Super. Like it's one person. They can't win it by themselves. Although Josh Allen can, unlike Tom Brady, throw himself the ball and catch the ball and score a touchdown.
And that's the problem too, where like everybody's like, oh, well, Brady and Mahomes have won multiple rings. Well, you can't compare everything to those two guys because they're complete outliers of their respective generations. Like, yeah, like Roethlisberger won 2, both Manning brothers won 2. But outside of that, like Drew Brees only won 1. Aaron Rodgers has only won 1. It looks like he's probably only going to win 1. Like, if you win 1, you forever cement yourself and you have no one to apologize to. You've got no one that can tell you that you did. Winning 1 is so hard. And it takes so many things going right. And that's why dynasties only happen every so often and why multiple don't take place at one time. Like we'll talk about the 2000s Patriots. We'll talk about the 90s Cowboys, the 80s 49ers, the 70s Steelers. Like those things are incredibly hard to make happen, especially now in an era, free agency and more money than there ever has been, where guys are, it becomes, all right, am I going to take a little less money to go try and win a championship, or am I going to go sign with, a team that might not be as good but get more money, which, it's incredibly, incredibly hard to win just one. So I think that as soon as Allen wins 1, I'm going to be the most happy, insufferable human being on earth on Twitter for a while, because I've got just so many receipts that I've bookmarked, and I'm going to quote them with just the Joker laughing video. And I'm just going I'm going to do you thought I was annoying when Kenny Pickett got traded this past offseason. I'm going to do that times a billion. I am going to go scorch dirt. I'm going to lose followers, and I'm not going to care. It's going to be great.
I always want those guys to win 1. Look, Cam Newton played for my Panthers. I was obviously hoping they won the one. They didn't. Now it feels like everyone thinks Cam was worse than he actually was, because they also remember the end of the kind of his career is oh yeah, he sucked on the Patriots.
End of Panthers pre-Patriot Cam was rough.
Yeah, but look, that MVP season, I don't know. You're not going to tell me that throughout history there were many quarterbacks better than him that season. That was a special season. And his highs were extremely high. His lows were, they could be low. But I think of a guy like Ovechkin. Ovechkin has won Stanley Cup. Maybe that's all he gets. Although the Capitals are better this year than they have any right to be. But he's going to break the scoring record. He's going to break Gretzky's record, which is absurd to even think about any of Gretzky's records falling. The fact that he got that 1, it's hey, you can't say shit about Ovechkin. You can't even he's going to be the greatest scorer of all time, and he's got the 1. It might only be 1, but he's still got it, and that counts for something.
Yeah, and as like a Penguins fan, like growing up, I hated Ovechkin. But like as you age and like you see, like going into that Stanley Cup final, like I was rooting for the Golden Knights just because Fleury was the goaltender, and like I said,
that's cowardly.
Like I said,
you're an expansion team. You can't root for an expansion team.
I don't. By the way, I don't care about any of that either. Who gives a shit? I've never understood the complete hatred of that. But like even like seeing how much it meant to him, like I was like, all right, good for Ovi. And even like these past few years, like it was like I hope he does it just because it's something that will never get broken. I don't think, at least in terms of when he breaks Gretzky's goal record. So good for Ovi. I think that I've definitely, like I said, I've come around and I've just enjoyed it as an adult, especially just because like Crosby's in his last few years, Ovechkin's in his last few years. Ovechkin, by the way, like he has aged not great. His hair is just
he's getting old. It's gray hair. What do you want him to do?
Crosby's like a year younger and he looks terrific.
Well, Crosby probably dyes his hair. So
I don't know. I've never had the privilege to speak to either of them, but I don't think that there's much dyeing going on. Because Malkin still looks pretty all right. He hasn't aged all that much.
I think it's a difference in living in Pittsburgh and Washington. Washington, you're just around stressful politicians the entire time, and that's just going to, like, by osmosis, age you.
I guess. I do love DC as a city. Like I do enjoy going there whenever I do. It's a very nice city.
Can y'all trade? I know you can't like make any deals, but like, can y'all trade Crosby to the Avs, please?
No, bro. He's in it for the long run. He's never playing anywhere else, and I'm very happy about that. Like that's the thing. Like Penguins fans just have to accept the fact that these next couple years are just going to be like watch Crosby and Malkin play together while they win 30 games, and you just gotta accept it. So that's fine. I've accepted it. Like Crosby will do some cool shit, and Malkin will have a goal, and they'll lose 5-3. That's what I've accepted, and is what it is. That's fine. I've witnessed 3 cups in my lifetime. That's pretty sick. So I'm not gonna bitch and moan about it too much.
Go ahead, Jensen.
Oh, I can't add much for the hockey conversation.
I was gonna let you go back to football.
I can only my assumption is like with Crosby and Malkin, is it a situation where they have like long contracts and make a whole bunch of money, but like they're declining, so they can't build around them or something? They just have to.
It's not even that. They like both took like Crosby's always taken team friendly deals where he could have easily
$8.7 million, no matter what.
Always, yeah.
Oh, really? He does that. That's really cool. Yeah. I didn't know that he was like that. He's always taken less so that he can have like
Yeah. So like the contracts for both him and Malkin both run through I think the 2025 season or 2026 season. So they'll be around for the next couple of years, and once those are done, my guess is they'll both retire, and then the team will win like 19 games the year after that. They're going to be awful. They're already not good. They're going to be awful, and it's going to suck. But
like I'm glad Crosby has multiples. I do think if he had like 0 by chance, he'd be on the Avs this season.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but he's just too great of a player where there was never a chance that he was going to have 0.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like even if with the multiple rings he does have, like if he goes to management tomorrow and it's like, hey, trade me, they're gonna trade him. They're gonna honor that.
Oh, for sure. But even then, like I'm not going to pretend to know Sidney Crosby, but he seems pretty adamant on not wanting to play anywhere else, which is pretty sick. So I'll enjoy watching him the next couple of years. I'm not going to pretend I'm nearly as like a diehard hockey guy that I used to be. I'm still like into the Penguins and whatnot, but from September to February, I owe my soul to a lassie lady named the NFL, so I don't get to keep up with it all that much. But after that, once like the All-Star break comes and then like things start heating up down the stretch, you get more into it. So still there, but not nearly as much as it used to be when I was a little bit younger. So I'll enjoy watching for the next couple of years. To go back to the Allen thing, you guys want to hear something I did right before I came on here? Because it was actually kind of funny. So like,
did you get a tattoo?
I'm doing that later today.
Okay, that's later today. Okay.
So I did like a week ago. I did like just like a aggregation news hit thing about Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld, and for the life of me, I could not find the link to one of these things. So like I credited it and like made sure to like name it, but I couldn't find the link. And so somebody from, I think it was Haley Steinfeld's like representation emailed me like, hey, here's the link for this just so you can properly, accredit it. And it was handled incredibly maturely and it helped me out a lot. So that was really funny. I completely forgot I even did it. And then I get this email like, hey, this is the link for it that you were probably looking for. So I put that in there. We're all good now. And Yeah, that's what I did literally minutes before coming on here.
Can you name me a Haley Steinfeld song?
See, I didn't even know that she did music. I thought she was just an actress. So I apologize in advance for that. But, I saw a picture of her today looking really good. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I hate Josh Allen, actually. This is he gets to make that much money, be the best athlete in the NFL right now, and then go home to that. Actually, maybe fuck this guy. I
was looking at your Twitter right now. I did not. So I don't even know who this is. This is my first.
What is wrong with you people?
To Haley Stein, but you're right, Jarrett. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, he's winning at life. So good for him. Steinfeld's songs. I do know that some of her fans are insane. So I have come to realize that over the past couple weeks. Yeah, that's every stan culture. It's just stupid. So that's a very good point. But no, I don't know any Haley Steinfeld songs. I know that apparently she's in the Avengers. So that's cool. What Avengers is she?
She's in Pitch Perfect as well. Not the first one. She's in the sequel. Yeah, she's in the sequel. Yeah.
I've seen both. I've seen Pitch Perfect and Pitch Perfect 2. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you much of the plot from the second one, though.
Starving, by the way, that's one of her songs. Banger. Every time Zicom was on, I turn that thing up. I didn't know that I was starving till I tasted you.
Oh, that's her?
Yeah.
Okay, that song rules. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song. I didn't know that was her.
Yeah, that's her.
No, that song rules.
Let Me Go. It's another good song. That's with I feel like you would like Florida Georgia Line. Oh, well,
I do like Florida Georgia Line. I do like
Florida Georgia. That's her in Florida Georgia Line.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll give some Haley
Educate your children to the Haley Steinfeld.
You know what my music taste is, and it is nothing that falls in line with you.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Oh,
you and my wife a lot musically.
Yeah, I know. But speaking of, so in the next year, I'm doing my entire left arm is just going to be my villain's arm. So I'm doing Michael Myers today. In a few months, I'm going back to do Art the Clown from Terrifier. And right now, Ice Nine Kills has the #1 metal song in America, based off of the movie Terrifier, and it's awesome. The music video is great. Everybody should go watch it. If you're a little bit queasy, maybe don't watch it, but it's great. So both of my cultures being intertwined is very fun, and I love that.
Are you going to Sonic Temple Festival next year?
Where's it at?
Oh, Columbus.
Ooh, then maybe.
I'm pretty sure Ice Nine is, it's in Columbus. I feel like they're playing one of these days.
So I was pissed because the lead singer was at Steel City Con last weekend, and I didn't know. I don't keep up with convention stuff. I like, if I hear about it and I can go, I like going, but I didn't know he was going to be there. And one of his days was last Saturday. And I was like, I kind of miss it. Plus, I got to get this tattoo. But he was there. Adam Cole was there. They were both there on the same day. I could have met Spencer and Adam Cole. I was kind of pissed about that. But yeah, next time. So
Ice Nine is on Sunday. They might play another day, but they're on Sunday. Metallica is the headliner for Sunday.
Yeah, they tour with Metallica a ton, so that would make sense why they would be on the same day.
I'm going to the Thursday, or sorry, the Friday show, which Metallica is also the headliner.
You just you just said that you don't get it, and then you say that you're going to this show featuring.
But you know why I'm going, Jarrett. You know why I'm going with this. It's not. I don't know any of these bands. Are you kidding me? I don't know who these bands are. I'll name you some of these bands. You're probably going to be like, oh yeah, they rule. They rule. 200 Stab Wounds.
I don't know who they are, but that sounds great.
Whoa.
Peeling Flesh. Armored Saint.
Okay.
Gate Creeper. Gate Creeper.
Okay, sorry.
Overkill.
Okay.
I feel like the Hate Breed. That's people have heard of them, right?
That's great.
Suicidal Tendencies.
Yeah.
Cannibal Corpse.
Cannibal Corpse is horrifying.
I've actually heard of them.
Yeah, they have a song called "I Come Blood," so enjoy watching that live.
Oh, tight.
So
yeah.
the wife is a fan of Acid Bath. That's who we're gonna. She's very excited. Yeah. I've listened to the Acid Bath.
This sounds like in a TV show when they're just trying to think of absurdly over the top names for a teenager who goes see as being an edgy teen. I want to go see Acid Bath.
Yeah, they always Sunny early episode. They come up with the name Chemical Toilet for.
The wife will name me like a band name. It's like, oh, I was listening to this by this band. I was like, that's not a real thing. That's not a real band.
No, like my favorites. Like I think Motionless in White's becoming a little bit more mainstream just because of their association with Rhea and the fact that they do her theme song. They performed at WrestleMania, so they're starting to get more of a mainstream audience, which I don't know if I love or hate, but they're great, and I've seen them. Ice Nine Kills is great. The Amity Affliction, they're terrific. Those are probably like my big three. But yeah, there's a bunch of others that are Dayseeker. I think that you would be okay with Dayseeker because their lead singer has just the voice of an angel, and you would very much enjoy. It's like a lighter, heavier metal, but it's pretty good. I
disagree with all of this. I don't like any of this. You have told me that your lady friend has gotten you listen to the great Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah, I like Sabrina Carpenter. Although I will say this, she was like, "Hey, can we watch the Christmas special with her?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And we turn it on, and like the songs were great. The first one's very catchy, very fun, but they try to do comedy, and it's awful. So if you are going to watch the Sabrina Carpenter Netflix Christmas special, do yourself a favor, listen to the songs because most of them are good. There's one with Shania Twain. There's a Chappell Roan feature. Watch all of those. Skip through all the skits because they suck.
I saw the opening of that. The opening, the nonsense holiday opening.
Yeah, like that's not even what I'm talking about. That's fine. Okay. She's just kind of introducing the show and being goofy. Whatever. I can get by with that. No, they do like legit skits that are so awful and so cringy. I was like glancing over at my girlfriend. I'm like, what the fuck are you making me watch right now? Because like I was on board with listening to just Sabrina Carpenter sing for a little bit. That's fine. But this is not good.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that would be like the comedy portion of
it's bad.
Good. Yeah.
It's bad. That was my final review on it.
Jensen, do you know anything about the Sabrina Carpenter?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay.
I'm getting like glare in the eyes, by the way. I'm like trying to like avoid this thing. I've heard the name Sabrina Carpenter though. I actually am familiar with the name.
You've had to hear the name. Like she's one of the biggest pop stars in the world right now.
Yeah, she's legit terrific. My music taste is very much like metal and country. Like those are like my two biggest ones. I recently discovered a 24 Roses remix from Shenandoah that features Luke Combs, and it is tremendous. So I've been rocking with that recently. There's a band that I like named Archetypes Collide. They have a song that just came out called Hollow High. Everybody should go listen to that. That's pretty great. I'm just plugging for like everybody that I enjoy. Hilarious. So yeah, that's what my music taste has largely been. I shouldn't say I've never, but like when I was like a sophomore in college is when like it really started changing. Like I'm not into rap music. I'm not into like the whole like everybody's talking about a Kendrick Lamar album. I couldn't tell you a single Kendrick Lamar song. So like I get why, everybody has their like own taste and stuff. It's just not my taste personally.
Yeah, someone mentioned Florida Georgia line earlier. I think it was Jeremy.
Yeah.
And Jeremy might be frozen also, which is pretty funny as I mentioned this. But I when I lived in Nashville, that was when Florida Georgia line was like getting popular, and I actually saw them play live at Raw once in Nashville. It was like the most random thing. Yeah. Oh, we lost Jeremy all the way. Well, he'll probably jump back on. Let me ask you about the Steelers. Okay. How do you feel about like the state of like the current state of the Steelers? Like I feel like this season, well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how do you feel about what you've seen going on with this season? Like the quarterback change up, like kind of where they're at this year versus like maybe expectations you had going into the season, and like how do you think their future looks like coming out of this year?
I mean, I said coming into this year, they won 10 games last year, and my whole thing was, all right, both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are much better than Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, what they had last year. Arthur Smith is going to be a better offensive coordinator by default than what they had in Matt Canada. So I said at minimum they'll win 10 games just because they're not going to get worse. They've already done that. And in the first month and a half, Justin Fields was playing well. The offense wasn't, doing what it is now. And when they made the switch, I was critical of it. But Russell Wilson has played very well. They put up 40 points. He's thrown 13 touchdowns since he became the starter. In terms of his deep ball, he throws, statistically speaking, right now the best deep ball in football. So he's kind of had a renaissance in his own right, and it looks like there's a lot of reports that the Steelers are going to try to keep him around at least for next year, which is great. That's you have the quarterback for at least the next year, maybe two, depending on how long he can stretch this out. Yeah, like I didn't expect them to be 10-3 at this point and leading the AFC North by 2 games. But the fact that they are, that does make me quite happy. And especially just because the last 2 years, man, like it's just been hate watches for me because I couldn't stand the draft pick of Kenny Pickett. And I was loud about he's not good. And you had all these Pitt fans that would be in my mentions all year long saying that I was wrong, which again, like I talked about earlier, I was so violently happy when he got traded this past March. I'm going to do this. I'm going to print out the Schefter screenshot, frame it, and it's going right here. I'm going to be obnoxious about it forever. So
I will vouch for Jarrett's hatred of Kenny Pickett even before he got drafted to the Steelers, because I distinctly remember sitting next to Jarrett at AEW Dynamite before the draft, and we were talking about who are the Panthers going to pick, because the Panthers had a high pick that year as they want to do, and you were like, you just better hope they don't take Kenny Pickett. I was like, oh, what's up with him? He's he's just not good. He shouldn't be a first round pick. You just don't want Kenny. Carolina had the 6th overall pick, by the way.
I in my head, I was like, all right, the Panthers, because that's when Matt Rule was still there, and I was like, all right, this seems like a bad organization that would make this dumb of a decision. So I was like, a bunch of mock drafts that I saw him going there. I was like, yeah, that would make sense why they would take him that high, just because it's not a great organization right now. But lo and behold, when the Steelers drafted him, I messaged you. I was like, how you feeling? Dude, everybody I've ever met messaged me. Right? Ben Raven, who covers the Lions on the Lions beat at MLive, texted me. He's like, oh, Godspeed, buddy. I was like, yeah, thanks. Thanks, appreciate that. So many people that night were just texting me and blowing up my phone, being like, oh. And I was like, yeah, I'm not thrilled right now. And so I had to listen to a bunch of brain dead Steelers fans for 2 years just talk about how great Kenny Pickett was just because he went to Pitt. And I was very happy when he left. So now I get to really just enjoy every Sunday, knowing that they can put up points, knowing that the defense is still great. Not as great as it has, but especially Minka Fitzpatrick is certainly declining a little bit. But TJ Watt looks like he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year again. That's pretty sick. Patrick Queen's playing really well, who they brought over from Baltimore. Deshaun Elliott, in my PFWA ballot, Deshaun Elliott's probably going to be my second team All-Pro vote, which, I can be a little bit biased because I watch, the Steelers more than every other team. But he's played incredible this year at the safety position. So they've gotten a lot of solid contributions from a bunch of different guys as well, with George Pickens not playing this past Sunday. Scotty Miller had 3 catches. Ben Skoranek had a fumble recovery, #exciting whites. So they're getting a lot of contributions from a bunch of different guys that, are kind of cast off from different teams, but who've also been there, done that. Scotty Miller's won a Super Bowl. Van Jefferson helped the Rams win a Super Bowl. So we've got a lot of different experience, different positions that have really helped them grow this year. And looking forward to seeing what the season brings. I'm hoping to God they don't play Buffalo in the playoffs again, because last year when they did, I was very openly I hope the Bills win because the Steelers aren't going to do anything. So I hope that, I want to see Josh have a chance at winning a Super Bowl. If they play this year, I'm going to be like, goddamn. I don't want to. It's like asking me to pick between my children. I can't do that.
Well, yeah, it's good to see the bounce back of Pickens, and then which y'all wound up having 2 legitimate quarterbacks all of a sudden, and Wilson's playing has been great. I mean, it would just, I can't even imagine being a Giants fan that passed on Josh Allen for Daniel Jones and then decided on paying Jones instead of Saquon, and now you're in this position. How boneheaded can you be?
I'll push back against the Saquon stuff, because so many people, and I did a long piece about this last year when I was still with USA Today, where people get so critical of teams that, the Giants situation is a perfect example, where, oh man, they didn't bring back Saquon Barkley, and look what he's doing now with the Eagles. Okay, but he wouldn't be as good as he was still with the Giants, and it's not like the Giants would be 11-2 right now if he was there. They would still suck, and Saquon would still be fun, but running backs can't carry organizations like that. It's not Barry Sanders with the Lions in the early 90s where you could get 9-10 wins if you had a good run game. So like you're seeing Derrick Henry doing really well with the Ravens, Josh Jacobs doing really well with the Packers, Saquon doing really well with the Eagles. Like running backs it's not a position that can carry a franchise to the playoffs. They are good as being final pieces to already really good teams to put them over the top, like Christian McCaffrey was for the 49ers, which, by the way, when he was with the Panthers, he was still good, but the team still sucked. So everybody was like, oh, man, the Giants, LOL. Like, no, like I understand why they didn't pay Saquon Barkley. What the big kicker was they didn't pay Saquon Barkley, but they did pay Daniel Jones. That was the stupid thing.
Right.
So I'm totally just tired of hearing about it just because, like, the Giants made the right choice. As great of a player as Barkley is, he wasn't going to move the needle for them because of the position that he plays. But if you're an already really good team and you add a superstar running back, then yeah, that can put you over the top. So it's not a position of equality when it comes to bad teams versus good teams. And running backs are better suited as being the final pieces of puzzles, not the puzzle starter.
I think that's fair. Those are good points. I want to ask you this before I have to run. If you guys want to keep going as well, feel free. I just need, I'm for full disclosure, everyone watching, I'm currently on my lunch break at my shoot job, so I have a hard out from the interview, unfortunately.
The term shoot job, by the way, hilarious. I love that.
Yes, yes, the shoot job. So we're in the business, brother. So I all right, just hit me with it. Shoot with me straight.
Okay.
How do you actually feel about the Minnesota Vikings right now? It's sitting at 11-2 at the time of this recording. Like Sam Darnold, all these people are waiting on him to turn into a pumpkin. That's been the big thing, is like how long before Sam Darnold screws this up, like in a big moment or something. The rest of the team, they have maybe the best 1-2 wide receiver combination in the league, a great tight end, a badass fullback that doesn't get enough love in CJ Ham. Obviously, they got Aaron Jones. I'm talking about CJ Ham. He recovered a fumble this week. Dude, and we're doing this about Christian Darrisaw. He's been hurt almost all season. People don't talk about that. Our defense with Brian Flores. Jarrett, how do you actually feel about the Vikings? Like, it's looking like they'll probably at least make the playoffs. I mean, the Lions, they'll make the playoffs, but like the division, I guess, really, with the Lions, that's the big question mark. The Packers are still good too. How do you actually feel about the Vikings, and do they have any chance of actually winning the Super Bowl, do you think?
I'm not going to say that they don't, like, they have a 0% chance of winning the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to sit here and pick them just because, like, so let's say that the season ended today, they would be the 5 seed behind Detroit. So they would play the 4 seed, which would be likely Atlanta or Tampa Bay. They'd win that game. I don't care where it's being held. I don't care where it's being played, who they're playing. They would win that game. Then it would come down to, okay, they would play the 1 seed where they would play Detroit. Because I don't think that depending on how seeding goes, because the Packers are still a very legitimate team as well, and I think that they could knock off a 3 seed or a 2 seed. So I'm not going to sit here and pick them to make the Super Bowl over a team like Detroit, just because of the thing that you pointed out, which is credit to Sam Darnold for playing well this season and Kevin O'Connell for doing the coaching job that he's done with Sam Darnold. But at the end of the day, in my heart of hearts, I know that that's still Sam Darnold, and a really bad performance is calling him like the Green Goblin mask. And it's not to say, like, the pure raw talent has always been there with Sam. We've seen it since he was in New York. It's just he was in a horrible situation, and then he kind of gets a rehab year after a bad year in Carolina as well, with the 49ers, where he can just kind of sit, learn, be molded by Kyle Shanahan, go to a similar situation in Minnesota where now he's playing incredibly well with really good weapons and in a system that completely fits what he does well. So I think that Kevin O'Connell deserves a lot of credit. I think Sam himself deserves a lot of credit. But he's not a guy that you can just send anywhere next year and he'll keep this up. Like, it's got to be a system. Darren Orlovsky pointed this out. It's got to be a system very similar to what they're running in Minnesota that fits his needs, fits what he does well, and doesn't make him have to be the guy that does everything. So I give him a ton of credit for having this renaissance year, but I don't think that all of a sudden he's like a top 10 quarterback in football. I think he's a system-dependent quarterback that you can get good play out of if in the right situation with good weapons around him. And also the defense has been crazy good this year too. Brian Flores has done a really awesome job with them. So I think they'll win at least a playoff game, but I'm not going to sit here and pen them in to get to the Super Bowl. I would still pick Detroit and Green Bay over them. The Packers were my preseason pick to get to the Super Bowl, so I'm still going to stick with that, until proven otherwise. But I would take Philadelphia. I'm sorry, I would take Detroit and Green Bay. If they played the Eagles, then I might give Minnesota some love, just because I think that Philadelphia still has a bit of dysfunction behind them. They don't seem as buttoned up, but I think that they would win at least a playoff game, and they would give every team that would make the playoffs a battle at least.
Okay, I think those are all fair points. Obviously, I'm very biased towards the Vikings, and I do agree with everything you said though about all that, and I do think that we're going to have a real dilemma on our hands in this offseason, potentially, depending on how deep we go in the playoffs, because they're just going to be in that situation of like, Sam Darnold's price tag is obviously going to skyrocket regardless from whatever he's making now to whatever he's going to get offers for in free agency. Then they have JJ McCarthy just sitting there waiting to play, but he's already had 2 knee surgeries before he's even started. And so I'm interested to see how that plays out. Like, if you had to make just kind of like a quick prediction on, who do you think is the Minnesota Vikings starter week 1 next year? Do you think it's Sam Darnold? Do you think it's JJ McCarthy? Or do you think they ride with Daniel Jones for like part of the season while they try to get McCarthy ready?
No, I think that Sam Darnold's going to sign elsewhere. Like, I think that's been pretty written in the stars throughout all of this, is that they plan to have JJ as the starter as soon as he's healthy. I think Sam Darnold, if he goes to a place like Cleveland under Kevin Stefanski in a system that I think could fit him, that's certainly a possibility. Just because Stefanski and O'Connell very similar in terms of how their quarterback friendly stuff, and I think that Sam Darnold could fit well there. So I think that he'll go elsewhere, and hopefully he picks a destination. Sam Darnold's played incredibly well, but I don't think that's going to deter their plans.
Love it. I gotta go back to work. See you guys. Thanks for joining us on short notice. Just since reaching out yesterday and you making this happen today, I really appreciate it, man. It's good talking to you and catching up.
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah, and appreciate the invite, and we'll see how your Vikings do the rest of the year. I'll be thinking about you every time I watch Sam Darnold now.
Well, thank you, and I'll be thinking about you when I see Josh Allen. So.
Thank you. I'm glad.
You guys have a good.
Bye, Jensen.
Right,
we can talk a little bit more football if you would like. I know you talk about football.
I'll talk about whatever you want me to talk about, Jamie Lambert.
All right. Well, we'll actually end here on some wrestling conversation.
Okay.
I know you're a big Jeff Hardy fan. I see the figure in the background there. Yes.
Right there. Yes.
Yeah. I knew that even before the figure was in the background, though. Are you watching TNA? Do you actually keep up with it?
I keep up with it. As long as Jeff's doing something, I will keep up with it. But I just like what TNA's done over the last year or so. They got my buddy Tom Hannafin doing their play-by-play stuff, and he's terrific with Matt. So I think that they quietly they are maybe the best 1-2 duo in wrestling right now. I think that they're both terrific. And in terms of the stuff that we've seen, we saw Will Ospreay and Josh Alexander to kick off the year, which was one of the best matches of the year. Seeing stuff that Moose has done. I know there was some controversy with him winning the X Division title and whatnot. Mike Bailey did a lot of really fun stuff this year. And even before, his unfortunate injury, I loved what Chris Bay and Ace Austin were doing in the tag team division. So they've quietly, I don't want to say quietly, because I think a lot of people have really come back to TNA, which is great to see. But, they had a period where, it was falling off. And I think over the past, since the pandemic ended, or since we had people return to live wrestling and have fans in the crowd, it's really picked up its steam, and we've seen a lot of really cool stuff come from it. Jordan Grace is one of the 20 best wrestlers in the world right now, in my opinion. I think the stuff that Joe Hendry has done organically to get over has been really, really cool. So yeah, there's a lot of really fun stuff to enjoy with TNA. All the crossover stuff they've done with NXT as well has been really cool. So yeah, any chance that I get to at least see a little bit of it, I try to. Anything that Jeff Hardy's doing, of course. Do you see he did a Canadian Destroyer a week ago? I never thought I'd see the day. It's pretty sick.
Everybody does a Canadian
Destroyer. Yeah, but it's 47-year-old Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, but Dustin Rhodes is doing it. Dustin Rhodes is 57.
I guess.
Jericho's gonna do one this weekend, I'm sure.
Who's he have a match with at Winter's Coming?
Jericho doesn't have one in Winter's Coming. He's facing Cardona next week.
Right. Okay, yes.
Jericho did do the Canadian Destroyer. He did the sort of Destroyer, but the Panama Sunrise that Adam Cole does. He did that in their match, and it looked awful.
That was such a bad match.
Yeah. Or maybe Cole did it to him. Regardless, whoever hit it, it looked terrible. I'm not trying to go back and rewatch that match.
Right. I don't think anybody showed. Sabu was in that match. just randomly.
Briefly. Yeah. Like,
it was just so random because in the build up to that, like they were cutting a promo and Adam Cole was like, and in my corner, Sabu. And we're like, what? Why?
There was like confusion over, is Sabu in your corner? Is he the special guest, like timekeeper?
Yeah,
what is he like actually here for?
Then he did a table spot and just fucked off. He was there for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, he got paid, got out of there.
Good for him.
Hey,
yeah. Good for him. Absolutely good for him. So I don't know. I don't keep up with ROH at all, just because I don't feel like it's. I don't think it's worth keeping up with.
Yeah, nobody really does. And the fact that like I like Matt Cardona, I think Cardona's done fantastic on the independent scene. I don't think he gets enough credit, but sometimes I think he almost gets too much credit because he's been doing this since the pandemic.
Yeah, he's been here for a while.
Yeah, it's not like he's just some new guy on the independent scene. It's like, oh, Matt Cardona is doing so great on this. It's like, yeah, he's been here for a little while when it comes to this stuff. But the fact that Cardona just walks in there and gets a title shot, it's like
that is kind of dumb, right?
We watch this show every single week, and this is what the ROH fans are complaining about. It's like we watch the show every single week, and you're just going to give a title shot to Matt Cardona. It's like, why should we invest in any of these people on the show if Cardona is just going to walk in here and get a title shot? Brian Cage is allegedly the TV champion. I don't know if he's going to have a match. Athena and Billy Starks will be good, assuming they announce it.
That's the one thing in ROH but it's been going on for like what, a year and a half that they've been. Maybe that's a little bit long, but like the Athena Billy Starks stuff's been going on for like a really long time.
It felt like they missed the peak of it too, and the peak of it was earlier this year when Billy probably should have won the title, but Athena won it, and then they put the ROH Women's TV title on Billy. She literally never defended the title and then lost it, and now she's gonna get probably a world title shot and win the title at Final Battle.
Who has the women's TV title then?
Red Velvet now.
Oh, I mean, good for Red Velvet, I guess.
Yeah, she beat Billy.
I think if they marketed ROH as basically just AEW's NXT, that would be fine.
Oh, I'm with you. That's been my complaint about ROH is they don't know how to market it and how to like cross over. Like if it was just, hey, here's kind of like top independent talent, maybe you get a star or two down there, but then keep them off of AEW TV because Tomohiro Ishii gets a ROH title shot and it's like, cool, all I do is see this guy lose on AEW TV. Why should I care that he's challenging for this ROH title?
Yeah, and like, and if that is the way that they decide to go, I mean, that's basically what ROH used to be, which is high-end independent talent that put on bangers every week. If that's what you want to be, then yeah, that's just what ROH was. Just do that. Or you can be like, all right, this is like, Athena's been in ROH forever, but I think that she's better than just about everybody on the main AEW women's roster. So like, you've got to find a way to also balance your talent on who you put on ROH, who you bring up to AEW's quote unquote main roster. But yeah, I agree. I don't need to see the men's ROH TV title on AEW or the ROH title on AEW, because then what's the point of watching ROH if they're never there?
And they've got enough certainly male talent on the AEW roster where it's like, yeah, they can be in ROH and actually be presented as kind of a top guy in ROH instead of, they're on ROH and here they are in AEW losing every single week. Like Matt Taven is getting a peer title match against Lee Moriarty this week. One, I don't know if anybody knows Lee Moriarty's the peer champion.
I just found that out.
Two, Matt Taven is on AEW TV doing nothing, and most of the time
he stands behind Adam Cole while he cuts promos.
Yeah, like it's like, oh, cool, get ready to see this guy challenge for a title. It's like,
right.
I'll pass on that. But
so
that's the state of ROH.
Yeah, and they have tremendous talents, just like the way that it's marketed, and plus there's like not a lot. It's still on Honor Club, right? So you got to pay to watch it.
It's only $10 a month. Like it's not.
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
It's not breaking the bank or anything.
Okay, never mind. I'll rescind that complaint then.
And the pay-per-views are on Honor Club now as well, so you're not paying like $40 extra.
Even better,
them, like it used to be.
Okay, then that's probably a thumbs up then, rather than a thumbs down, if anything. But yeah, they just need to find a way to better market themselves and figure out what they are as a promotion.
Well, at some point, it'll be on True TV, potentially, allegedly. That's the rumor out there, which is being rebranded to TNT Sports.
Is Tony booking ROH too?
Allegedly. I mean, I don't know when it comes to ROH because he's credited with booking ROH. I'm not saying this like to be super negative or super mean. I don't know if anybody actually books ROH. I think Tony just kind of like puts matches together and it's like, okay, cool, go have these matches. And then when a pay-per-view comes around, it's like, all right, let's do whatever we're going to do for the pay-per-view. But clearly not a whole lot of stock goes into building the pay-per-view when Final Battle, which used to be like the ROH show, that was the big, like, that was their WrestleMania essentially. And they're just like, well, we didn't actually build anything for Final Battle. Here's Chris Jericho and Matt Cardona.
Right. Yeah, I think last year, I think it was that Final Battle last year where they did the Ethan Page, Tony Nese thing. Like that was kind of built up on ROH.
Yeah.
And even like some like AEW stuff. And that was cool. But like even so, that kind of stuff felt like it was fewer and far between, and like cards just kind of felt thrown together.
And that was something that is very public that Ethan Page super pushed for. Hey, I want to go to ROH. I want to do this. And so I feel like unless you're pushing to go to ROH and pushing to like do these things, Tony's just gonna put you in a match and you go on and you do your match, and that's kind of it. I mean, Shane Taylor, who I think is fantastic, doesn't really have a whole lot of traction on ROH TV. He was calling out the world champion over the summer when Mark Briscoe was the champion. He's like, Mark Briscoe, I'm coming after you. And nothing came of it.
Can I also point out, since you were talking about why AEW is kind of bothering me recently, like, can I just say that the conglomeration sucks? It's so bad. It's just so bad. Like, why is... Like, God bless Mark Briscoe and everything, but like I don't want to see him like as like a main story, like with the Death Rider stuff. And I can't take the Death Rider stuff seriously because they're not beating up anybody that like truly matters in terms of the main event scene. They're beating up the Dark Order and Mark Briscoe every week. Why should I care?
Here's the thing with the conglomeration is like individually, this talent is fantastic. I like all of them individually, and they're called the conglomeration because they're a group of quote unquote weirdos who were just kind of put together.
That's also a very stupid name, though. I'm going to include that in my complaint. I think it's very dumb. I think it sucks.
And Orange Cassidy has said this in interviews, and I understand that not everybody is like me and consumes every single little interview that every wrestler does. Right. But Orange Cassidy was just like, yeah, we were guys who weren't really doing anything. And so they just kind of put us together to like have something on the show. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it like that, it's like, oh yeah, that's basically what they are. But yeah, as you're saying, like that doesn't really give you a reason to care. It's like, hey, here's three guys who like you kind of like, but we don't really have anything for them. Let's put them in a group together. And now we have something for them.
It basically at that point, it just becomes like the core if it was cool. And even then, like that's not like a great tagline to have. So like Orange Cassidy rules. I just like even like when he was doing the best friend stuff, I didn't like the best friend stuff. I'm being perfectly honest with you. Like just have Orange Cassidy be Orange Cassidy. Like I don't want to see a bunch of randos with him. Like I love Kyle O'Reilly, but I don't know why he's part of this group. Like, and it looks like they're starting to have him do more like Adam Cole, Roddy Strong stuff. Like, yeah, do that. Like that's what everybody wants to see.
I don't know if people want to see that.
But... I do.
Okay. You're from that NXT black.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. From when NXT was at its peak, that was like kind of me as a wrestling fan. I was like, yeah, NXT black and gold, undisputed era. Like, now don't go and bring back Bobby Fish. You don't got to do that again.
How dare you?
I saw a clip of him on an MLW show, and it's just like, wow, bro, like you've.
Is it the Rogue Horsemen? It's Bobby Fish, Brock Anderson, CW Anderson, and BRG. It's the greatest four-man group in wrestling.
BRG.
Yeah. Brett Ryan Gosselin. That's his name.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Yeah.
That's his real name, too. That was a real name, no gimmicks, like Obi Trice.
Yeah, I would like to see more of like the... By the way, there's a lot of people like bitching and moaning about Adam Cole recently. What's up with that? I like Adam Cole.
I think Adam Cole is the greatest human being in the world. I think
down to earth, great dude.
I think Adam Cole got very unlucky with the ankle injury last year.
So much stuff that just unfortunate injury stuff for him. Yeah, the concussion and then the ankle shortly after.
because he was their hottest babyface during the MJF stuff. And I thought they kind of missed the boat, even potentially not putting the title on him during that. And then turning him heel, which seems like it may have always been the plan, ankle injury or not. I think that would have been a misstep, honestly, had they gone through and like, had he been healthy. Now, if he'd won the world title out of it, okay, like at least you got the title on him. But they haven't done him any favors in the way he's been presented since coming back. And two examples that I really kind of like to point out, and for some people they might be small. For me, like it just kind of shows, 3 examples really. It just kind of shows like, oh, they're not hitting Adam Cole how they should. First promo back after Wrestle Dream, when Bryan Danielson died, Adam Cole was out there to like show concern and everything. He opens the following episode of Dynamite, no mention of Bryan Danielson. And it's like, you probably got to mention him. Second one was after MJF did the whole, you got to win 3 matches to face me. And Adam Cole's like, all right, cool. I'll fight you. Like, I'll win 3 matches tonight. Like, whatever, bring them on. Goes backstage. Buddy Matthews cuts a promo. Is like, Adam Cole, I want to face you. And Adam Cole's like offended that Buddy Matthews wants to face him. It's like, dude, you got to win 3 matches. You just said you'll win 3 matches in one night. You should be stepping up to this dude and being like, all right, yeah, let's go. And then that match against Buddy Matthews didn't do him any favors because he's like walking away. And it's like, don't you hate MJF so bad that you want to like fight him and wrestle him? But now you're walking away. And the only reason you came back is because Buddy Matthews is like, Adam, you're a bitch.
Yeah. Narratively, his booking has not been the best as of late.
And then he does like, he's having okay matches. They aren't great. They're just okay matches against guys that he's basically going 50-50 with. And he should probably be presented a little bit stronger than that. So they haven't done him any real favors. I'm not down on like Adam Cole as far as what I see in him potentially. I don't think they're doing him a whole lot of favors with stretching out this MJF stuff.
And I think that that's overall like another issue that I think a lot of people who've, might not be as hype about AEW now, just because I alluded to it a little bit, is just like, rarely do they book like a big, like strong overarching babyface to just dominate a match. Like they did it recently with Swerve when he just beat the living hell out of Max Caster and everybody was like, yeah, it was great. Do that more. But a lot of like their TV stuff, especially like, feels like every match goes 15-20 minutes, no matter who the 2 opponents are. And like, you don't need that. Like, well, I know that Orange Cassidy in kayfabe is much better than what Big Bill is. So why are they having a 15-20 minute match where it's very back and forth and Cassidy's getting owned? Like, you don't need to do that. Like, present these guys as bigger stars. Or like with Hangman, like never have Hangman, or at least rarely, be presented as like having people who are on a lower guard, like the Jeff Jarrett stuff. I didn't love that because like Hangman should, routinely beat the hell out of Jeff Jarrett, not have it, be so relatively even. So I think that's also been a little bit of an issue where it's just like, yeah, you've got these guys who are clearly your main event guys compared to, some mid card guys. It shouldn't be a contest in those lights.
There's a reason why so many people love Swerve just completely destroying Max Caster. It's like, oh yeah, instead of a 50-50 match where it's like, oh cool, they had like a really good match and Swerve won. It's like, oh no, Swerve is actually just way better than this dude. And it works for the Max Caster character because he calls himself the best wrestler alive and then he loses in like 3 minutes. Yeah. So like it works. I know this past week a lot of people were complaining like, why is Mina Shirakawa going 50-50 with Emi Sakura on Collision? When Mina Shirakawa, by the time this airs, Mina and Mariah will have happened. I don't know I assume Mariah May is going to keep the title and
that would be my guess,
she wins tonight. But people were like, why is Mina going 50-50 with Emi Sakura, who's literally never won a match on AEW television? It's like, she's about to challenge for the title. You gotta present her as a little bit bigger of a star. And people try to use the analogy of like, oh, well, any given Sunday, any team can beat any team. And it's like, well, yeah, but this is pro wrestling, not pro football. And like, if this team is basically the 0-16 Lions and they are facing the team about to play in the Super Bowl. Pretty sure that game's not going to be super competitive. Like it's probably going to be a blowout.
Yeah, and I would like to see AEW, adjust that a little bit, where not every match has to be like this 15-minute TV classic where it's back and forth. Like you can have your baby faces dominate, or in like the case of Hangman, like if he's facing, I guess he's kind of like a tweener now, maybe leaning a little bit more towards being a face. But even like if you have like a top tier heel who you're, putting up against somebody in a lower division, like, yeah, you can just have him beat the living hell out of him and make him look dominant. Like some of these things like aren't hard. I don't want to say like, oh, come on, it's not that hard, because like I don't book a wrestling company, so I don't want to sound holier than thou. But like some of these things, like it shouldn't be too difficult to make guys look great.
Yeah, a lot of stuff is forgiven when you have that kind of star power, too.
Right?
Because I think WWE has issues, but a lot of it's just overlooked. Well, at the end of the day, they have Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and it doesn't matter kind of what's around them. They are so larger than life, and like their stuff is so good that we can just forgive that Gunther is kind of now a little bitch as the champion.
Yeah, but I mean that's a whole other issue that I've had recently with WWE. That just stop trying to make me care about Damian Priest, because I don't. I stop trying. I thought that we were done with the Gunther Priest stuff, and now we have to. It looks like it's going to be a triple threat for the world title. Why? Like, just give Finn Gunther would have been perfectly fine, unless they don't believe in Finn to have a good match. Which I don't think that.
Gunther and Finn would have had a fine match. The problem with Gunther is like he was facing Priest, who's a babyface, so that makes Gunther the heel. But now he's facing Balor, who's a heel, so that kind of babyfaces Gunther. But now he's facing both. Yeah. It's like presenting Gunther as a tweener doesn't exactly work. Like you got to have a little bit more. Like he's a heel. He's a bad guy.
That's what I'm saying. Like some dudes are just made to be bad guys, and he is one of them. Even if you have him going up against another bad guy, like that doesn't mean that he all of a sudden has to, gain virtue. Like he can still be a prick, but he's so different because of like the ring general gimmick, where he has respect for the ring. Like that completely separates him from any other heel. Like you can still have him go up against a heel in Balor and it would work, because they're not the same shit-eating heels. Like Gunther is so different from a guy like Finn Balor in terms of character, where it would have been totally fine to have a heel versus heel, because they're two different characters. And I think that they kind of wasted an opportunity.
And I think the story was actually there. The problem with Gunther and the presentation of Gunther is he lost to Cody, and to beat Priest, he needed Balor's help. Like losing to Cody, fine. I didn't need the handshake and everything afterwards.
Right.
But like needing Balor's help to beat Priest, it would have just made more sense if he just beat Priest and then he steps to Balor, who maybe Balor attacks afterward, whatever. Balor just jumps him because he's like, Balor can still hold the "you're only the champion because of me" type of thing from SummerSlam, and Gunther would be like, all right, you know what, little Punk, like, fine, we'll settle this in the ring. Like, you do things, you're part of the street trash. You're part of that group that Priest was with. Like, you're no better than he is at the end of the day. Like, I'm gonna wipe the mat with you. Instead, they've just kind of like made him look like a bitch at every turn, where it doesn't seem super true to the character that he was when he was the Intercontinental Champion.
I agree. And it's probably my least favorite part of WWE TV right now. I was trying to think of anything else. But yeah, I think that's probably my most like annoyed thing right now. I'm also like very controversially, like not like a huge Sami Zayn guy. I'm just kind of like over Sami Zayn.
Wow. Wow. Really?
When he beat Gunther at Mania, I was legitimately pissed, because it should have been Chad Gable, and I was very upset about it.
All right, now see, I'm not super mad at that, because I do think they missed the boat on Chad Gable, and in a couple of ways. One, yeah, you probably could have put the Intercontinental title on him. I understand though that like you couldn't just like immediately take it off of Sammy after he defeated Gunther, and then but like once you turned Gable, it felt like Gable could have gotten that spot over Braun Breaker, and then find something else for Braun Breaker. But Braun Breaker's been great in that role. But they really missed the boat on the Otis and Gable stuff, because I'm not super high on Otis as like a top tier player or anything. But we're not going to sit here and act like that man wasn't getting a monster reaction.
Yeah, I think all of it was just a very big drop ball, and you could
have. If I'm correct, I'm going to look this up. They didn't do a single Gable and Otis singles match.
No, I don't recall that ever being a thing.
No, they didn't. I'm checking Cage Match right now. Like, how do you miss on that singles match?
Like, that's a perfectly fine, like, under the mid card match that the fans would have cared about on like a B pay-per-view. That would have been perfectly fine. And you missed the opportunity to create like a legitimate new like upper mid card star in Gable where people would care about it, and you could have put the title on him to really legitimize it, and you just had him lose a bunch. Which, by the way, like at the time when he was losing to Gunther over and over again, like it made sense for the story because he was getting closer and closer and closer to beating him, and then he beat Gunther by countout, right? And that was like one of the things where it's like, all right, this guy beat Gunther. It just made so much narrative sense to have him pin him at Mania to win the title, and instead just like, nah, just give it to Sammy. It's like I just don't care. I just didn't need it, and now it's just I'm just not a big Sami Zayn guy.
All right. Well, I can't get behind you not being a Sami Zayn
That's
guy.
Fine.
I get the reasoning in as far as him beating Gunther when it should have been Gable, but Sami Zayn overall is absolutely fantastic. Just a fantastic professional wrestler.
I'm not going to like say I don't get why people like him, because like I understand it, like from like just being like a pure babyface thing, but it's just not my cup of tea. Great person too, like an overall just like good human. It's just when it comes to like pro wrestling, Sami Zayn just isn't my flavor.
You're wrong. Your taste buds
are okay. A lot of people told me that. Yeah. John Alba, Ibu, they've all told me I'm crazy. That's fine. I'll be wrong about it. That's okay.
Sami Zayn's top tier when it comes to pro wrestling.
I
didn't want to ask this while Jensen was on air because I don't know. Maybe you're gonna be on Jensen's side, but last one, and then we'll let you go.
Okay.
Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, who should win on Saturday?
I think KO should win. Okay. I think that would be a nice little fun swerve. And I don't I like Cody. It's just like the title reign. Like I'm just like, all right, yeah, it's been fine. And you got to kind of hover that line of like, okay, well, he ended a 3-4 year title reign, so you can't beat him too quickly for it. And I get that. But we're at month 8 right now, and he's had a few good title defenses. I think that the feud with KO is perfect because there's nothing more perfect in wrestling than like a heel that's right, and Kevin Owens is absolutely 100% right. And I think it would be really cool to have him win. And plus, the fact that behind him, he does great stuff with whatever he's given. And I think that I think most people expect Cody to win, especially because now it looks like they're doing the winged eagle belt for one night only, according to Triple H on Twitter.
This is why I think Kevin's going to win, because if it's for one night only, Kevin can win that thing, and then you're just be like, this fucking thing's stupid. I don't want this thing. Like,
I hope not. Here's the thing. They've done so much goodwill for me by getting rid of all their shit belts and bringing in better ones. Like the new tag team titles on both brands look good. The SmackDown ones are obviously much better than the Raw ones, but they both were a tremendous upgrade. I even think like this new iteration of Big Gold looks fine. It reminds me a lot of the IWGP US title with like just the big globe in the middle. I think that looks fine. And they still have this big ugly ass keychain belt for the main
but
title.
You know why?
I get it. It's global branding, whatever. It looks awful. It's horrible. And they should absolutely replace it because it's complete shit. And I hope that this whole one night only thing is just to piss people like me off to where we talk about it over and over. It turns into like a new We Want Cody, We Want Wing Dingle, and we're not going to stop talking about it until you give it to us. So hopefully that's what this is, and they actually do bring back some like modern version of it. If you want to put like the WWE Globe thing like that's on the new Big Gold in the middle, cool, do that. But anything would be better than this big, just corporate bejazzled logo that looks awful.
See, I think Kevin's going to win. I definitely think he should win. Yeah. I don't think he's like holding the title to Mania or anything. Like I could see him dropping it back to Cody as like at Royal Rumble, honestly.
Okay.
A couple reasons why I think he should win. One, the biggest one, I don't feel like you could just have this guy lose another big opportunity like this and then expect me to like continue to take him serious. Like Kevin Owens is great and I probably will continue to take him serious because he's so good. But like he's lost all of these championship opportunities over the years to like Roman and even the latest one against Cody. It's like at some point, much like Gable, like you gotta have this heel actually be correct and actually win that match and be like, see, this is what I was trying to tell all of you guys. Now I have this title to prove this. And again, it doesn't have to be a long run, but he should just win it instead of, oh, cool, Cody just beat the challenger again, and we move forward with whatever Cody is going to do next. So that's the biggest reason why I think he should win. I think the Winged Eagle thing legitimately, and the way I'm basically framing this is Kevin wins, he looks at the Winged Eagle. Like in real life, I feel like Kevin would like that title and be like, oh yeah, this is so cool. Mm-hmm. But I think this character of Kevin Owens can be like, this is what Cody wanted to bring back. He wants to bring back the old days, the nostalgia. He doesn't care about what's going on now. Like he wants to get rid of all this stuff going on now. He wants to relive his past. Oh, let me finish my story. Let me make it about my dad. Mm-hmm. No, like that. This is the problem with Cody. He didn't care about what's going on now. He's only worried about what's happening in the past and trying to relive the glory days of that. And then he just kicks the old title to the curb. And he's like,
I'm totally okay with that, because in that route, you can also just introduce a new belt.
Yeah, that's fine.
As long as this ends with a new belt, I don't care what happens. Because
that's fair.
That's like my biggest thing right now. And like I compare it to, not to make everything about horror movies, but in the Halloween franchise, there's a movie, Halloween 20 years later, that a lot of people really like for the story. I hate it because Michael Myers' mask looks awful in it. And the way that things look will determine how great something is. So the WWE Championship doesn't look like anything that I would personally want to fight for, just because it looks like shit. And even if you have like a really great storyline, at the end of the day, if what you're fighting for looks like shit, I think that diminishes it a little bit. So I think that bringing back or bringing some iteration of a new belt would be great. And they've made changes to literally every other belt on the roster except that one, and we're still waiting for something good. And I'm truly hoping that we get something good, because that it very much needs a rebrand. And you can still, like I said, they do it with the current iteration of Big Gold, where there's still very clear branding there, but it looks like a championship. This thing doesn't look like a championship. It just looks like a big keychain, and I hate it. So I hope that KO does win, though. I hope you're right and he does win.
I think it is best if he wins.
I think it is too. He's doing tremendous stuff right now. And it would be a fun little, I think, unexpected wrinkle, because I think that most people expect Cody to win. At least most like the mainstream, like just casual fans would say, yeah, Cody will probably win. But I think it would be fun to throw a little bit of a little surprise in there.
What if they do the new title, but I'm sure you've seen the like sports titles that they have, but they just have like the giant WWE logo in the middle of that.
Oh, those are still bad. Those aren't good either. Like they made something like the thing that they made for Crown Jewel, like that was way too big, but something like that, like they've shown that they can make solid looking titles. It looked good. It was just way too big.
Well, the Saudis paid for that thing. They were like, all right, here's your $15 million. We want a $15 million title.
That thing was so massive. How much do you think that thing weighed?
Oh, it had to be every bit. I mean, the NWA title, it's called 10 pounds of gold. I imagine those titles are at least like 10 pounds. That thing had to be every bit of like 20 pounds.
It was so big. So big.
Monstrosity.
So they can make something. I hope that they do something new, because the current one is really bad. And even like when Cody carries it, like when Cody was carrying the TNT title, it looked good. When he was carrying the NWA title, it looked good. Like how him and Nick Aldis used to carry like the NWA title. Look good. He's trying to carry the WWE title like that. It doesn't look good, dude. You can't. It looks bad. Even trying to make it look classic by the way you present it, it doesn't look good.
They do it because they send it to all these celebrities and all these sports teams and everything.
Bro, they did it before though too. They did that before with Big Gold, and nobody like was naive to where the belt was from and what what was going on there. Like everybody knew, oh yeah, it's a WWE belt. Like you don't need a big giant W for everybody to know it's a WWE belt.
Yeah, but the big gold was a WCW title, though. So see,
oh my god!
So they didn't know. They didn't know that it was what the company was.
Even if they wanted to do like the title that Eddie Guerrero had, like that was a fine one.
Okay, yeah, that was the undisputed title, like the original undisputed title.
Or if they wanted to do the Globe Eagle, I think Globe Eagle is better than the Winged Eagle personally.
Okay. All right, Jared, I'll let you go. Let everybody know where they can find you. Do you have a Super Bowl prediction, by the way?
Coming into the year, it was Bills Packers, so I'll stick with that for now.
I would say that seems still. It's definitely still possible. It's not like it's out of the realm of possibility.
I also just didn't want to be one of those people who's like, yeah, it'll probably be Chiefs Lions. Like I wanted to at least pick something. Like, it won't surprise me if it's Chiefs Lions, but I at least wanted to be a little bit different and pick some different teams, and so that's what I went with. And you know where my allegiances lie. I want Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl more than I want my future children to be successful. So that's really what I'm hoping for right now.
I think I went Bengals and Lions. I definitely went Bengals, but their defense is gonna
not good.
Up.
Yeah, very not good. But yeah, for some reason you want more of me, follow me on Twitter at JBaileyNFL, and you'll get lots more of me. You'll get to see my new tattoo that I'm getting in like a half hour. So that'll be pretty fun.
Good luck. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Enjoy your tattoo. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. It's good to catch up with you.
You too, buddy.
All right. We will talk to you later on, Jared. Thanks everybody for listening. Guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We're back. Big thank you to our pal Jarrett Bailey. Go check him out. Go follow him for all your NFL coverage. Unless you don't like Josh Allen, then you'll probably get very annoyed at and I don't know if anybody can hear me. Maybe we're back. Go follow Jarrett. If you like Josh Allen, you'll enjoy him. If you don't like Josh Allen, you'll get sick of him and you'll probably block him or unfollow him pretty quickly. Guys, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Spotlight. Plenty to talk about. It's a big weekend in wrestling. We have TNA Final Resolution tomorrow. SmackDown, as usual. WWE Saturday night's main event on Saturday. Collision, as usual. And then New Japan Strong. New Japan, it's just New Japan. They kind of did away with the Strong branding. But it is New Japan Strong Style Evolved on Sunday night. So a lot of wrestling this weekend. Watch it, don't watch it. I don't care. It's your life. Live it however you want. Just make sure you live it a quarter mile at a time.